All right, everybody. So welcome back for Sesh 2 of Day 3 of the Game Studio Art Test. So we are going to get started. Let's see, what is this? I don't know why it's doing that. But anyway, so we're going to get to it. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask away.
Big double-decker things, but that's not their bus. They advertise for TMZ on the side of those buses, but their buses are little buses, and they have like big bunch of television screens, and they just blast all this footage of the. I mean, everywhere you go, what happened there? Every time Paris Hilton was on their show, just real fucking loud, really, really, really annoying, and I was like, Mom. Listen, I mean, because we thought we were going to be really passive, you know, like, and that's where Jerry Lewis lived for 45 years, and right there is where there's George Carlin's house, and you know, but no, it was in your face, loud. It was like you were forced to watch an episode of TMZ, and somebody tied you to a fucking chair and wouldn't let you go, and just turned it the fuck up. That's how fucking annoying it was. And it just horrible. And so at one point in the tour, they said, we'll be passing the Montage Hotel. And I'm like, hey, let's get off, Mom. And she goes, yeah, let's get out of here. So we scooted off. But it was nightmarish. And I like those guys at TMZ, and they're friends of mine, but God, would you please fucking turn it down? My mother. I brought my mother. I brought my mom.
I feel bad for the guy that was asking the questions to Jerry Lewis, too, because he probably thought he was going to have a nice, friendly conversation with a legend, probably totally intimidated. He's in Jerry Lewis's house, having a conversation with him, and it's going to that one-word answer place. No. Why? You know, that when he starts doing that, it's like you're in verbal combat.
But listen to what the questions were.
Terrible questions.
You guy's 90 years old. He's talking about why aren't you more like dead?
I agree.
I mean, how do you answer that question?
It was a poorly designed conversation. Horribly designed conversation. And it was obvious that's how Jerry Lewis felt, and you could tell the guy who was asking the questions was kind of, you know, he's treading on water. He's trying to figure out how to get the fuck through this while he's talking to this living legend.
He didn't figure it out.
No, he didn't.
He didn't figure it out. He should have.
He probably meant well.
Yeah.
He probably meant well and just ran into everything. Yeah.
All right. Unpreparedness.
Unpreparedness. Yeah. It's just. That's a weird gig, too. The ability to ad-lib and ask questions to some living legend like Jerry Lewis and just not realize while you're doing it that your narrative that you set up in your head is probably disrespectful to him because you're comparing him to all these dead people, saying why he's still working. Why you're essentially saying why he's still alive.
How do you not catch that?
Yeah.
How do you not catch that?
It's got to be fucking why. You know, you almost have to wonder why he decided to do it. I guess it's just the Hollywood Reporter, right? It's a big deal. You know?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't know that maybe, does he still sell tickets? I don't know that he works.
I think he does. I think that's what the guy was talking about. See if Jerry Lewis still has stand-up shows. I think he had just got done.
Fuck, I'd pay.
I'd pay, too.
Right.
I'd go see that. Fuck, yeah. That's I was, Bill Burr and I had talked about going to see Bill Cosby before the scandal broke. And we had talked about going, and either one of us flaked. I don't remember what happened, but Bill wound up going when he was somewhere in California. We were going to make a separate trip to Vegas just to see Bill Cosby. And Burr said he was fucking amazing. And then the scandal broke afterwards, and this touring stopped, and it just became a totally different thing.
I said, we have to have that VIP company, and that we promote. We do other people's VIP stuff besides mine. We do other people's, and we had just signed Cosby, and that stuff breaks. And he would have been the perfect client for it because he's looking for trim anyway. After the show, so he's going to want to hang and sell it. It would have been probably would have been our best client, and he still sold a lot of tickets after that.
Look at this, An Evening with Jerry Lewis. Saturday, November 12th, 2016. So real recent.
Yeah, that's the last show I could find listed.
Wow, that's a really recent show.
Where was it?
Where was that?
St. Louis International Film Festival. Oh,
wow.
Oh, so that was just probably him talking about. Which still would be fascinating.
Yeah, that would be fascinating. But I'm pretty sure he does stand-up. I'm pretty sure Jerry Lewis still does some sort of a stand-up show.
I think he had a show. It said at the South Point. In Vegas.
Yeah.
But there didn't have any recent shows listed or anything.
Oh, when was the last show?
There was an article from September, so he might have had some shows at the end of the
pretty recent.
last year. But yeah.
So within the last year, he's still working. Woo.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Crazy. Yeah. I mean, those if you go back and watch the Nutty Professor, we were talking about how that influenced Dice. If you go back and watch that and just realize there had been nothing before this. There was Charlie Chaplin and there's a few movies. Chaplin. What did I say, Chapman? Oh, my God, I'm an idiot.
Chapman.
Don't listen to me. I'll stop now. But Three Stooges, there was some fucking great shit. But God damn, man. Those guys were real pioneers. How many decades had movie comedy been around back when Jerry Lewis was doing those movies?
Well, it's you can look at. I mean, here's the thing: some comics build bridges, and most comics walk across those bridges after they've already been built substantially and it's set in stone. So Lewis, certainly built a bridge that Jim Carrey walked across in ballerina shoes, and he knows it. But because that extraordinary comedic talent that comes out of those two people you're so identifiable. And, I think that Pat Paulson built a bridge that Stephen Wright walked across. Now, that doesn't mean Stephen didn't do it better, but he didn't invent it.
But don't you think all of us are, in essence, in a way, some sort of a group thing? Because we're all kind
absolutely. Absolutely.
We're all kind of influenced by each other's standards. And what you appreciate, as a comic who's been doing it for as many years as you have, I'm just 2 years after you. I was, when did I start? August 27th, 1988. So it's about 2 years after you.
Yeah.
I mean,
which means we basically started the same day.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's
I started literally a week apart from Greg Fitzsimmons. Do you know Greg?
Yeah. I don't know him well, but we worked together somewhere. And, and he's very funny.
He's fucking hilarious. He's a smart dude.
I tell you what, I tell people all the time, man, if you like stand-up comedy, go to the Comedy Store and make a vacation around it and go sit in there because, people are going to come in and that room rattles. And you better be prepared to do something or you're not going to follow some of these fucking guys. It's really, really strong, and it's fun. That's what makes it so much fucking fun.
It's a pirate ship filled with murderers.
Yeah,
it really is right now.
right.
Any night you go up,
killing everybody.
Just slaughter fest. You're going on after savages. It's just oh, Jesus Christ. But everybody's riding the wave of everybody else, and it's an unbelievably supportive place.
Yeah.
We stop and think about how much camaraderie and friendship there is between the comedians. You would think if you get all these national comedians that tour all over the place, you put them together, oh, well, ego battles, it's going to be weird. It's the total opposite.
Oh, yeah.
That place is a love fest.
Yeah,
everybody's hugging everybody and high-fiving and having drinks.
I go on, I do my time, and but I try to hit them as hard as I can, right in the fucking mouth. and because that's what I like to do, is hit them right in the fucking mouth. So, and I guarantee you, somebody just got through hitting them in the mouth, so they're still wiping blood off their face.
Yeah.
When it's my turn to hit them in the mouth, but I'll hit them in the mouth anyway. But the crowds that you get a hold of are so alive. I mean, there's life. It's like a swordfish on the end of a fucking line. It just vibrates,
Joey Diaz was slaughtering so hard the other night in the OR that I felt like I was having a religious experience. I was in the back room of the OR, and Joey Diaz was slaughtering. His face was beet red. He was screaming out, and I was running out of air. I was laughing so hard. And I remember thinking, like, this is a special time. This is a special place. Like, this is a rare, rare little jewel in the universe of all the different performing arts. At this one place is just sort of fucking cranked down the focus.
Yeah.
I mean, the other night, Chappelle, would Chris Rock bring up Chappelle, or Chappelle brought up Chris Rock?
Rock brought up Chappelle.
How? What? Neither one of them were even on the schedule. Chris Rock pops in and brings up Dave Chappelle.
That's why I tell people, come to the Comedy Store. You don't know what you're going to see for your $15.
Crazy spot,
but you're not going to see, if you were going to have paid those guys to put a show on for you that you just saw tonight, it's $17,000 a ticket, so or whatever it is. It's expensive.
It's also like a really honestly critical place too. If your new stuff sucks, they'll let you know.
Oh yeah, they don't laugh at anything. It has to be good. When I first started here, I really had a great little burst of material that I really like, and it's all the front end of my show now, and it's about 20 minutes long. Or that I want for the front end of the show. That's what I want. That's what I'm doing now in the front end of my live show, and so it's. But now, it seems like I'm just playing around with the order of that stuff to just see where it works the best and just how to just fucking really slap them in the face with it. And because eventually, over time, your act will get into a place where it does drift into the spot it needs to be in. But I don't have that kind of time, so I need to look at it and do it different ways and see where it needs to be. To just slap the fuck out of them, and which is my only goal, is to slap the fuck out of them, and when I can't do that anymore, I'll keep doing it for a couple more years.
You slap the fuck out of them, and I enjoy watching you slap the fuck out of them.
I enjoy watching you slap the fuck out of them. I feel inspired, I'm like, you're gonna just waltz on behind Rogan, and you know how big a fan I am of yours, and I didn't, I know exactly who you are, and not exactly who you are, not as much as I do now, but but I saw you do stand up in Atlanta one time as a feature act, and a long time ago, and you just really fucking tore this crowd up, and I was like, this guy's really good. And so then, I'm like you, I don't hang out there and watch comics, but sometimes you're right in front of me or right after me, and I just got, just huge respect. I mean, it's so much fun to watch. It's you do physical things I couldn't even do, much less get the words out while you're doing them, but it's just great writing, and that's cool. Yeah, that's cool.
Well, thanks, man. I feel the same way about you, and I would say that whether or not you just said something nice to me. But yeah, I'm honored to be friends with you. Like, no bullshit. As a comic, that's an honor.
Well, since I'm now one of the Godfathers.
You're the Godfather. Who's gonna, like, if you wanted to run for president of the Comedy Store, you just got here and you'd win. son of a bitch, right? You can't. I'd be disrespectful if I went up against you. I'll be your vice president.
No, you'd win. You'd win.
Oh no, you're the statesman. You're the states. Clearly,
whenever Jay McGraw first met you, he was asking me. He goes, "Do you know Joe Rogan?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "What do you think about him?" Like, he's a great guy. He's a great comedian. That's what people don't know. I mean, a lot of people don't know. A lot of people do know. But a lot of people don't know that he's a great comedian. Not a good comedian, a great comedian.
That's very nice. And I think people know enough. They don't need to know any more. I'm good.
No, you're a great comedian. You're great.
That's not what I mean. I'm good with them knowing.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm just saying. That's fine. But anyway, that's just what I told him.
I appreciate that.
And he said, but he doesn't talk much. And I'm like, huh. You know, it's like you guys were learning how to be boyfriends, but it's like he seems kind of a.
I don't make small talk, but I talk to people.
Yeah, no, that's what I told him. I said, you know what, you're gonna love this guy. He's solid. He's got a big heart. He's right. He's what we're looking for friends, and so.
Oh, well, that's very nice of you, man. This is a love fest. This podcast is a big old love fest, Ron White.
So now it's now Joe and I are fucking FaceTiming Jay. It's the gayest fucking three-way in the fucking world. If we don't end up beating each other off before Christmas, I'll be shocked.
FaceTiming is another level of commitment other than texting with friends. If you start FaceTiming friends, like, whoa.
Right.
All right, buddy. Who's got the body they need to bury? You're setting me up.
I won't even do that with my wife because I don't want to prove where I'm at. You know, I don't want to. Oh, really? To turn around and show me the interest.
Just get an Android phone. They can't communicate with each other. That's the move. Get yourself an Android phone and
she's listening to this.
Skyping now, from the other side of the universe.
I don't do anything wrong.
I wonder if there's like some sort of a setting that you can have on. You know that they have those goggles. Have you seen these goddamn things now? These. I've
never watched. I've never looked through them.
What are they called again, Jamie? Snapchat goggles, right?
Oh, no.
So these people have these goggles where they can stream. They can stream video from their fucking eyeglasses, like anywhere they want, wherever they are. They can stream video from eyeglasses.
To pick up where?
You could, like, I could show you. I could show what I'm seeing. I could look over and see Jamie.
Show it to me. How do I see it though? Through my phone?
People could watch it online. They could check it out online. This is crazy. I mean, we're experiencing some next level technological innovation shit that's happening. Like some new, like even more invasive internet sort of thing. This is the next level. The next level is you can literally show the whole world what you see.
So is this I mean, because I do Periscope when I'm really drunk on the bus.
Essentially a lot like that, but you don't have to hold on to it. It's on your glasses. So it's similar, and there's a live streaming idea.
Right. Like 30-second clips at a time too. Which
that's
is
all. That's what it shows.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but I stay on. It's a blast. We had this thing because I got a friend that does my VIP stuff on the bus, and he was also at that first show that I did. So friend for 30 years, and
holy shit,
and so his name's Dave, and we do when we're going down the road, we're like this. We get just baked. You know, after the show, we travel at night, and we'll do these broadcasts and. The Big Gay Dave and Ron show, and which has no content or anything. And it's, but you know what? I don't know that it's growing that much. Periscope, and it's the most amazing thing that you can do a live broadcast, and you can pick it up in Cairo as easy as you can pick it up in Lubbock.
I think it's pretty popular, isn't it? Pretty popular Periscope. I know Scott Adams had a very popular Periscope.
Changing what Twitter owns it. They just made it. Excuse me. It's built right in now to Twitter's app. So like if you hit Twitter and you're like instead of putting up a message, there's a button that says live video and it's Periscope. It will just open right.
Oh wow!
So they're trying to just figure out how to make it more available for people to be.
Whew. And do they have a limitation on how long the clips are?
I don't believe so.
No.
There you can go well over an hour.
Yeah, right. You can do whatever you want.
Crazy. That kind of interactivity that has never existed before. There's never existed anything like Scott Adams. Like he was doing coffee with Scott Adams like several times a week, right? Wasn't he?
Yeah. If
I just made that up. I have no idea.
You had no
idea.
He did it. I could tell.
I know he did a bunch of them.
7.
I'm like, how many times did he do it? I might have just made that
Just
up.
the easy access to turning it on. It's on now. People know
Yeah.
it's on now where you are.
Yeah, and you just turn it on and they get a notification. Ron White.
You're right. They do that on Periscope.
You should have one on Periscope that says Ron White is
I've
drunk
got
and
like
he wants to talk.
25,000 followers on Periscope. Or something like that.
Damn.
I don't know if that's true or not. I made that up.
You might get them after the end of this podcast. We'll just tell you you have them and everybody jump on. Follow away.
Well, we don't have a good enough signal on it.
Yeah,
right?
I was doing it for a while, but I got bored with the Periscope thing. I'm like, Jesus Christ, am I exposed enough?
Instagram Live just started up.
I know.
They've been pushing that around.
I saw.
That's a little limited to an hour, and those videos don't last after.
Oh, that's
They
weird.
they just disappear.
Oh, that's weird.
don't
That's
want
too bad. That's kind of too
In
bad.
some
But
cases.
I would guess that the amount of fucking data that they would have to stockpile if everybody's shit saved, every fucking dummy out there saved the video of them flexing on the beach. You know, all the fucking stupid videos of some guy telling a shitty joke at a bar, all those things, just gigabyte after gigabyte after gigabyte stored on the Twitter server. They'd be like, fuck you. Delete.
That's what happened to the TMZ bus ride.
Yeah, that's the problem with the future is that everybody's going to know everything everybody does all the time. There's kind of not going to be as much craziness going on in the next 100 years. You know, in the future, I think everybody's going to know. I think we're about 50 years away from us becoming some crazy hive mind. That's what I think. I'm stoned and drunk.
How long do you think I'm
But
going to
I'm
live?
making some fucking points. You
how long
can
do you-
live. You got to just eat what I'm eating. You got to come to yoga class with me. You got to eat healthy.
You live out in the country.
I'll send somebody to you. You're a wealthy man. This is all we have to do.
You know what? I've been working with my yoga girl, and it's pretty basic stuff, but I'm working on it. A couple
Basic
days a
stuff's
week.
all you need, man. Basic
Yeah.
stuff's all you need. If you could work your way up to do a hot yoga class,
No, fuck. You know, my wife took me to one of those. It was the worst thing I've ever done in my life.
it's my
I-
favorite shit.
I walked out.
That's my sufferfest.
How often do you do it?
I never do it more than twice a week, but I really should. I'd practice some of it at home. Like I do some
You
shit
have
at
a really
home.
hot room.
No. When I do it at home, I'm just working on like basic exercises and stretching shit, but never more like in class form than twice a week. But when I have done it twice a week, I felt better than when I did it once a week.
Yeah.
But I always do a
Margot's done
little
it
bit.
for 25 years, and Margot is strong. I mean, she's strong. She did handstands, but you know, she's big time upper body strong.
Do you think she could choke you? Could she get your back?
If you look at her in the dark, kind of from behind, if she's flexing her muscles, she looks kind of like Floyd Mayweather.
Whoa,
I mean, just
that's not fun.
I'm kidding. I hope
scary.
No, she doesn't look a thing like Floyd Mayweather. But she's just ripped. She got a ripped back, and she's really, really, really strong. But she does. She's always done that. So I'm you know, I got to do something, man. I can't be fucking going into my 70s without being fucking.
We just gotta get you
more
on
fit.
a nutrient-dense diet. Drop a little body fat.
Yeah, what'd you bring to the fucking party? A bottle of fucking whiskey
Yeah,
and a joint.
But I'm gonna have that too. You know what I had for breakfast? I had a kale shake with MCT oil and beets, raw beets. Then I went to yoga.
You know, we have that new presser, this new juice presser thing at the house.
Those are the shit.
Yeah, we just got hooked up with it.
Oh man, if you can just get used to drinking juice, just fresh squeezed vegetable juice. If you can just get used to doing that just a few times a day, it'll drastically improve your life. There's so much nutrients in plants that we need, and we fucking escape them for days. We just eat mashed potatoes and meat and shit for days.
I don't have any energy for a workout. I just don't. I get there, I'm tired. I don't want to go. I dread it going in. I dread it when I get there. I dread putting on my shoes. I do. And I don't know why some people are as lazy as I am. And I know that's what it is. And I used to be a runner. I used to run 5 miles a day. I would run like crazy, and I hurt my knee really bad. But I just don't like to go to the gym. I hate it. But I know I have to. Because my friends are all dying, and I'm going to be 70 in 10 years. And so I've got to. But I know yoga is the thing, because this guy this Dave, Big Gay Dave, is a golfer buddy of mine, but he's also yoga for forever.
Well, bless you, big gay Dave. Bless you.
Take him where he needs to go.
Yeah, man, yoga's the best thing about it too is it will get your heart rate up. It will be very difficult, but it's gonna straighten your body out. It's gonna stretch you out. It's gonna straighten you out. It's gonna calm you down. Like, you're not trying to be a power lifter. You know, you want to do anything ridiculous. You want to do anything to hurt your back. What you want to do is like something that's gonna make you feel better.
Well, that's I had this new trainer, and I told the guy, I said, listen, man, I'm a pussy.
Your phone's going.
Don't. What's my wife? You want to talk to me?
No, but play the music that rings when your phone. Put it up there. Powerful runways.
Back in black. Hit the sack. You know, he's a buddy of mine, Brian Johnson.
Really?
The lead singer.
He his hearing apparently is all fucked up from all his crazy concerts all those years.
Well, they're it's kind of a interesting thing that because we're talking about the holiday evolution of anything, you know, and but there was a guy in Australia who invented the in-ear monitors, which destroyed his hearing to begin with. So he dedicated his life to finding a way to fix that, and so he did. But the problem is, and it does, I mean, if you watch tape of people putting these things on, people that are almost completely deaf, putting this system in their ears, every one of them starts crying.
Wow.
Every one of them. And so he had an open letter to Brian Johnson, said, Brian, I want to come to your house in Sarasota. I want you to put these in your ears. But the problem is, it's not portable. It's portable in that it's this big.
When you're making like a laptop size.
Yeah. It's thicker than that.
Like a large hoagie.
Yeah, right. And so, but the technology's there. I mean, it's amazing. And he hates hearing aids, and and he's a curmudgeon. He's the sweetest guy I know. He's a wonderful, wonderful human being.
But you know what was cool about it, man? When Axl Rose started, I was like, should I accept this?
No.
Should you accept Axl Rose singing AC/DC?
No.
I accepted it 100% because I thought, look, it might not be Brian Johnson, but it's still Axl fucking Rose.
Right.
And it's kind of interesting. Like, Brian couldn't do it anymore. Axl steps in. I like it. I'm happy with that. That's a freak show, but in an awesome way. It's like, how often are you going to see this? How often are you going to see Axl Rose singing as a lead singer for AC fucking DC? Like, wow.
Well, their ticket sales.
Holy shit.
Their ticket sales dropped by 70%.
That's a bunch of pussies in America that don't respect Guns N' Roses.
Well, that's true. They don't. But the thing is, that's Brian Johnson's voice. Brian Johnson's Back in Black was the second biggest selling album of all time, behind Thriller at 52 million copies. That's Brian Johnson, not fucking Axl Rose.
I 100%
and Brian
agree.
Johnson's still a freak show vocalist, and at some point, his brother Malcolm was the better guitar player anyway, better than Angus, and Angus knew it. Everybody fucking
Strong
knew
words.
it. Yeah, but he was the engine behind that really complicated. It doesn't sound complicated, really fucking complicated rock and roll, and that's why it was so engaging for the whole fucking planet. And it was Brian Johnson's voice, not Bon Scott's. He was their lead singer for 5 years.
But Bon Scott had some great fucking songs too, right?
He did. He did. But
what were the big hits under Bon Scott?
I don't know.
God damn it!
Because I've only heard Brian sing them.
Right.
But Back in Black which was the second biggest selling album of all time, was all Brian Johnson.
Yeah,
and,
no doubt about it. I'm not saying he wasn't.
So
fucking incredible.
And you know what? And I'm wrong, as I usually am. Because why not? And Angus still loves to play it, and why not? It got ugly a little bit. Well, that's not my place to talk about that, but
there was like some political shit.
But whatever. But yeah, and I also heard some reviews that he did a really good job.
Are these all, who sings these, Jamie?
These are Bon Scott songs.
Which ones? Dirty Deeds?
Highway to Hell.
Oh my God! Highway to Hell?
Dirty Deeds.
Oh my God! The best ones.
But go back up to Dirty Deeds. That's Brian Johnson right there.
Right. It is.
If you want to hear somebody sing it.
Well, he was fucking amazing. Look, they were both amazing. No, I'm not like picking sides, but what if Brian Johnson just came out to the shows? I mean, he can't do it anymore.
Why would he do that?
Because it would be cool to see him there. Oh
what,
man, I don't know.
No,
he's not wheeling him out. He just can't.
No.
Could he not hear that sound anymore?
He still races cars. I mean, he's got a fucking car team that he races these Lolas, these guys that were in Pan Am races. These cars are running 200 miles an hour. He races them now.
Wow.
And he travels the country. He's got a new car show coming out that I'm going to be part of.
No shit.
He insisted on. I mean, I think we're going to film my part in like a couple of days for the whole season.
So can they in any way restore his hearing to the point where he could start singing again? So how far away are they?
Andy would.
Dude, I felt like, when he stepped out, I was like, this is a weird moment in our love of these epic rock stars.
Right.
When we see,
Well, you know what? The thing is, I went to see Chicago the other day with my son, and it was great. It was fucking great. There's three guys. And not one of the singers, the one that wasn't as good, but he was replaced by this Irish tenor that could just hit every single one of those notes, and it was great. And I was with my son, we were partying. So the only reason is it's kind of personal to me because he's a friend. And so I know what he was going through that year, and with also the death of his best friend, and then the loss of his hearing, and then the loss of his band, and that's not. And there were only a few dates left, but that's not the way he wanted to go out. But he's Brian fucking Johnson, He's the shit. He's literally a treasure of a fucking guy.
He's right up there with Charlie Chapman.
Brian Johnson.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about it, man. I mean, he's a fucking epic vocalist. Epic, His fucking impact and his intensity got me through many a workout when I was a struggling adolescent.
It's still on my phone. Yeah,
fuck yeah, man. I mean, that's one of the all-time. So
you can actually
hardest hitting bands ever.
You can pull up footage. I guess you can. Of Margot and Brian on stage in Jacksonville, Florida, in a little club.
Shit.
Can you put Brian Johnson and Margot Ray and see if that comes up?
That's awesome. Holy shit.
Good Lord. It was Margot's show, and towards the end of it, Brian was there, and I was like, her band nose shook me all night long. They've been working on it all week. Do you want to go sing it? He goes, well, I don't know if I can sing. I haven't sung on. I haven't sung in years. But I got a fossil at the thing. And, there it is right there.
Wow.
That's my wife, Margo.
This is crazy. This is so crazy. When was this?
It's 2014.
Fucked up and listen to some music. On there, and I chose not to watch it.
He freaked me out about McDonald's. Now he's freaking me out about rats. That goddamn Morgan Spurlock. Rats apparently in New York City. There's as many rats as there are human beings. I made that up.
20.
Sounded good, though,
yeah,
right?
No, I was with you.
In the days before the internet, I could get away with that. I think it's probably pretty close, though, honestly. There might actually be more rats.
Sure. Because look how much space they take up.
Whoa, look at this. Morgan Spurlock flying over New York with a drone.
That's a big rat right there. The space of a Jack Daniels whiskey bottle is about the size of a good... Look at the floor on this thing.
Wonderful.
That's a beautiful bottle.
Floor. It's a beautiful bottle. It'd be awesome for a bar fight. Some shit broke out.
Are we out of ice? Do you care how drunk I get?
No, I'm
going to have my car towed.
That's what I'm saying. Have that fucking car towed. Don't worry about the ice. There's plenty of ice, Mr. White.
Where are you? My wife's looking.
People are text messaging.
And my wife is.
Tell them you're on YouTube. Out in Al Gore's interwebs, floating through space. And look, it's young Jamie with the ice. Bam. Young Jamie, camera operator, ice getter, bad motherfucker. Ron White, what are you doing? Text messaging while I'm
trying
rambling?
to, no, I am. I'm just trying. My wife is trying to find me. I told her this was going to be about an hour, so I told
You
her.
gotta get her a drone, bro. Like a little one. Just keep it right next to you.
Right, have it
Like a
follow me
fly.
around. Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
But also, it's like practice for your focus.
Bust my fucking balls.
Because if you have like an artificial
Married
drone
with children
flying over your head like that, like it's at least it gives you like this mental discipline. You have to ignore the drone, ignore the drone, ignore the drone.
I gotta. Okay, I'm gonna bring her on.
Don't do it! Don't do it, Ron White. This would be chaos.
All right.
We could wrap this up if you want.
No, I don't want to wrap it up, but.
Oh, she thought it was going to be an hour. We've definitely done hour podcasts. Only a couple, like maybe 3.
I don't care. No, I'm having a blast.
Okay.
I want to stay here and drink.
That's what I'm talking about, Ron White.
Until nobody wants to, nobody cares anymore.
That's not going to happen. That place isn't going to exist.
Send Margo a text that says, I'm still at work.
Ron White is at work, ladies and gentlemen.
Those cameras aren't on, though, right?
Definitely not. Why would that be?
Are they?
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, good.
Yeah. We're streaming. We stream on YouTube.
Okay.
And record, and then it gets uploaded after the fact. We put it on the iTunes.
So are we live to anybody right now?
Probably like, let me guess, 10,000 people? Oh, I guessed. Really? Yeah. Was that right? Wow, that's a fucking good guess. Holy shit.
Jesus. I wouldn't even have had a guess.
I've never asked before. Like only in the big ones, like when we do Fight Companions. What's the most it's ever been? Like 30 or something?
33,000.
30, yeah.
33,000. The most I can get stirred up on Periscope's about 3,200 maybe.
I don't know what I've ever got on. I haven't used it in so long, but it's one of those things where if someone found out, like that's one of the things that happened with that Scott Adams guy, because people found out. They're like, well, this really intelligent guy is also a Trump supporter. Is he a Trump supporter? No, he's not a Trump supporter. He's literally not even voting. But he's breaking down why he thinks Trump's going to win, and people are freaking the fuck out. Like, he literally is telling you, I'm not voting. I'm not voting for anybody because then I'll have some sort of a player in the game. He is a weird guy, that Scott Adams, in a good way. Like, he's sort of he defies a lot of
He's a Democrat.
He's sort of a Democrat.
Democratish.
He's very open-minded, I would say. But he got unfairly labeled as being like this Trump supporter. Whereas I don't think he was a Trump. I don't think he was. He most certainly was not anti-Trump.
Well,
what he was trying to say
didn't hurt Trump's program for him to say Trump's going to win for sure, and I'm the one that knows. And he also has the background that says he's the one that knows. So it wasn't. It was one of the several blows that Hillary took, besides being a horrible candidate. That she took that knocked it out of her hands. You know, these two people were running against the only people that they could possibly fucking beat, and if she just wouldn't have said basket of deplorables. And when she said that, I was like, Jesus, titty fucking Christ, really?
There was a bunch of them.
Give them a hammer.
But
anyway,
just when even people that wanted to look at it as an alternative vote. Like as an alternative to the potential chaos that Trump could cause. And some people looked at it that way. And some people, honestly, I think, I don't know what percentage I would guess it would be, but there's a bunch of pragmatists that got in there, and when it came time to vote, looked at that fucking ballot and said, you know what? Let's just see what happens. Let's just see what happens if we put this fucking crazy guy in here.
We were in England.
Why not?
And at one of Margot's friend's house, and this guy who I really, really like, he goes, well, the monkey in me would love to see Trump win.
That's me.
Yeah, right. The monkey in me. The fucking monkey in me. And,
hilarious.
What could he really do? But I don't know.
He could definitely do something, but what would he do good? And what would a complete shakeup of the system look like? I don't know. And I think that there's this weird defining of things right now where everyone has to absolutely say in one way or another, either support or deny. They either support him or don't support. It gets to me to be real cultish. It gets to me to be real fucking patriot pride. I'm for the Dolphins no matter what.
Right.
It gets real weird. It gets real
Hey,
weird.
I had a guy wouldn't take a picture of me at a meet and greet because somebody just brought up the subject, and I don't fucking bring it up at my meet and greets or my show.
Right.
I used to do one bit about it, and that was barely could be conceived as anti-Trump. But because half my fucking fans, I'm not going to lose half my fucking fan base over a goddamn presidential election.
Yeah,
You kidding
right,
me?
exactly.
I'm greedy. I'm not a Dixie chick.
But people will get mad at you about shit like this,
Oh,
too.
the guy literally, they go. He had 2 girls with him, and they took pictures. He goes, "Your turn to take a picture." He goes, "If he's not going to support Trump, I'm not going to take a picture with him." And you know what I said? Well, you know what? There's a door right the fuck there, and you can just walk the fuck out of it.
Wow. He wants to drain the swamp. That's all it is. Hashtag drain the swamp.
Nobody's draining no swamp, though. There ain't no swamp being drained down there.
Yo, Dick Cheney emerging as key Trump advisor. Jesus fucking Christ. Darth Vader has returned.
We're bringing Halliburton back into this son of a bitch.
Bum, 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 bum. He's been on ice, it turns out, for 8 years. The only Dick Cheney that we've ever seen in news reports has been this artificial Dick Cheney. Dick Cheney's cryogenically frozen himself for 8 years to get through the Obama administration and then to pop back up in the Trump administration with just fully renewed and invigorated.
He couldn't go 3 months without having open heart surgery back when he was right before he was elected.
Jesus Christ, Ron White. Jesus Christ. There was a point in time where Dick Cheney literally did not have a pulse, and I was like, Jesus Christ, isn't this in the fucking Bible? I mean, really, if you guys want to follow the Bible about the end of the world, I don't know if it was in the Bible, but he had a machine inside his body that pumped his blood, and it didn't make a pulse, so he didn't have a fucking pulse for a long time while he's waiting for a heart transplant. See, Cheney has just fucking pop-ups. Cheney has heart pump but no pulse. What? That's gotta be a zombie. Okay? Are you excited or are you not? I can't even tell. I put my fucking fingers on your neck and I don't feel shit, you fucking vampire.
And you're still going.
You're still going?
You're still running Halliburton, and you're the...
He's still in politics. He's not fly fishing.
You know what? I really thought... I haven't heard his name in years. I'm like you. I haven't heard his name in years.
He had a heart transplant. I had a joke that I could never figure out how to get to work. It was about how one Secret Service agent realized he wasn't really a Secret Service agent. He just had the exact same blood type as Dick Cheney. And they'd be like, well, how come I got to eat tofu and you guys are eating burgers, man? What the fuck? And they just never told him. How come I got to run every day? You guys don't have to fucking run. Shut up, bitch. Get running. And they'd sit behind him in the car, pacing with him, smoking cigarettes. And then one day, Dick Cheney has a fucking heart attack, and they open that dude up like a fish and just scoop out his fucking fresh heart and do some roadside service. I can never figure out how to get to work.
I think it's very funny, but I don't know how you're going to get it to work.
It's never going to work. It was just terrible. It was about heart attacks and dead people, and it's not funny enough.
Yeah, I got baby duck pussy lip tacos to work. That was a...
One thing I can comfort myself in is knowing that Dick Cheney did not get any advantage as far as waiting in line for a heart. Guarantee you, it was 100% fair and across the board. Without a doubt, Dick Cheney did not have any influence whatsoever in anyone moving him to the front of the line to get a young, fresh 20-year-old basketball player's heart. There's definitely no chance about it.
No,
absolutely not. That the motorcycle victim, the 17-year-old super stud athlete, there's no way that heart is going into Dick Cheney's heart. Yep. No, it's not going to.
Did it?
I would guess so.
Yeah. So how's he doing now? When did that happen? Did he have a...
I don't know, man. Does anybody know? Didn't know whose heart it was?
I don't know if it...
He had a transplant at age 71. Jesus Christ.
It's 3 years ago.
Hanging on, son. He suffered 5 heart attacks, undergone open heart surgery, multiple catheterizations, and angioplasties. Had a defibrillator implanted and a pump attached directly to his heart. All of that before his transplant at age 71. Where some young strongman winner
Now he's a sprinter.
They got some fucking kid from Iceland that dropped one of those mallets on his head, and they just grabbed him and just threw him on ice, sent him over to Jack. Just keep him alive. Jack's gonna be your surgeon.
We're gonna bring this whole thing back around.
We're gonna be fine. Yeah, and then that fucking super hearts and Dick Cheney. All of a sudden you see him, posture looks better, face starts to suck in a little bit, loses the jowls.
Hair's growing back.
I just don't know why a guy like that would want to still be in the business. Like at this stage of the game, like is it just he doesn't want to?
Just the bailout money from Halliburton was like $150 million, and that was to become vice president. So, you know, I don't know. I have no idea. I have no idea what drives any of those idiots.
Yeah, that's what you got to worry. Like what's the end game? Like, where are you going when you're working that hard at 70? What are you shooting for? You trying to save the world? You trying to tell people how it is? What is it? I wonder. You know, it can't totally be. I want to keep making money, right? Can it be? Ego, maybe. Maybe while you're alive, you're just alive. Maybe all these ideas that we have about people getting older and wiser, maybe that's all just bullshit. Maybe you just get older. Like a lot of people don't. They just get older. So if they're fucking crazy when they're 30 and they want to take over the world, why do we automatically expect them to be on some path of like self-regulation and improvement to the point where they become enlightened and they don't want to take over the world anymore now that they're 70 and they've had 15 open heart surgeries? But no, it doesn't. They're just people.
My goodness gracious, Joe Rogan.
Right?
Hey, you know what? I think that this has been a lot of fun, and I love you to death.
I think it's been a lot of fun, and I love you to death as well.
And you know what? I can't believe it took us this long to go do this thing. I'm getting so fucked up that I can't respond anymore.
You're fine.
So it's always better if I just don't respond once I get this fucked up.
I completely understand your position. But from a fan's perspective and a friend, you've been amazing and fine. And you could skate right through this like a goddamn champion. Like Tanya Harding before the incident.
Right.
Remember
she
her?
was
The
good.
little fat thighs, the little,
good Lord.
that little freak could spin around, fly through the air.
Yeah. Good lad. She was amazing.
That's you right now. That's you right now. You just have, you're like every great comic, you have a low self-opinion of yourself. It takes a certain amount of ego to be great.
That was easy for you to say.
I'm telling you right now. It takes a certain amount of ego to be great, and then a certain amount of ego to move past that, where you have to understand your ego. And you're one of those understand your ego guys, and so you squash that motherfucker every time it gets. So you're always looking for self-deprecating moments, even in front of people that love you.
Yeah, well, maybe I do. Maybe I do.
But it's because you're a bad motherfucker. There's no way you wouldn't be. You wouldn't be as funny. That's a whole part of the whole thing, man. You know, and getting to know you and be friends with you at the Comedy Store has been really fun, man, because I love your comedy. I've always loved your comedy. I love watching you work shit out. I love hanging out with you. It's just fun, man. It's just fun, and having you on here has been just nothing but a blast.
I knew it would be. I knew it would be a hoot. So
people right now are saying, no, don't stop. No, I still have to drive 45 minutes to get to New Hampshire.
They listen to this in New Hampshire?
Fuck yeah. They listen to this shit in Dubai.
In Dubai? God damn it. We could have gotten work there if you wouldn't have been dissing them.
No, I was just being honest with them. They got to straighten their game up. Can't arrest people from saying the wrong magic word.
They do.
You know? I don't know if they do. But.
Yeah, I just really.
You got to get their game up.
You know, at some point. You know, I did that getting Doug with high or
Did
whatever.
you do that? How was that?
I got so fucked up, I couldn't even think.
Doug wasn't there, like a flight attendant trying to bring you back into the runway. Come on,
and I was there with Josh Blue, who smokes more weed than anybody, and
Josh Blue, the comedian from Denver, who won Last Comic Standing, and he has cerebral palsy, right?
Funny as fuck is what he
really
is.
Funny,
yeah,
very funny.
Really
but doesn't
good.
He's one of the rare people that actually uses medical marijuana.
And you can watch it. You can watch it relaxes that fucking tension in his fucking muscular dystrophy arm or whatever the fuck it is.
Yeah, it's good to bring up. Very important to bring up, because that's a clear beneficiary of actual medical marijuana, unlike you or me.
Oh, no, that's not true.
That guy's using it for medicine.
You know what? I was taking Xanax
to sleep?
To get up.
Just to get out of bed?
Yeah, for a while.
Ooh, so Xanax is a tricky one.
Yeah.
How long did you take it for?
26 years.
Jesus Christ.
No, I'm kidding. I'm fucking with you. I'm not on
Step in as
Xanax.
a fake pharmacological expert.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I'm not on Xanax. I'm good. I'm good. I smoke a lot of weed, and that's good. And I drink a lot of tequila. But I'd like to thank the Jack Daniels folks for sending this over because it's fucking delicious.
That's a wow. Man, I think we're all real lucky right now. I think it's just a perspective issue. It's really a perspective issue of understanding what a strange time this is, for all of us. Well, everybody's freaking out about Trump and freaking out about the future and what are they going to do with Russia? The fuck's you worry about Russia? How often is it in Ron White's day has Ron White worry about fucking Russia?
Well, we're already dead. So, I mean, in my opinion, I don't worry about Russia. I really don't even think about Russia, but I also don't think about any of it. I mean, not in details. I don't. I was a presidential candidate. My paperwork was completely filled out. I was a candidate for the president of the United States this year.
How dare you? Yeah. Who put you in?
I did.
You put yourself in?
Yeah.
Now, are you a part of the Bilderberg group, or are you a supporter of any sort of the Illuminati? Anything that's going on that's ruling the world, Ron White?
No.
You were just going to run for president as a normal dude? How come I didn't hear about this until right now?
I don't know. Research.
How the fuck am I supposed to know you ran for president?
Well, look, pull up Ron White for president.
I would have had you in. Would have tried to rig the election. Are you willing to do it again in 4 years?
No.
No.
No. You know what scared me was that I didn't realize anybody was taking this seriously. There you go.
My God. Ron White for president. Vote smart because you can't fix stupid.
So that's me at my house in Beverly Hills signing the paperwork. Oh, my God.
That is so hilarious.
I've actually never made that face before. So I don't know where they got that image. But it's certainly not me.
How weird, man. And so what happened? People took it seriously? Help support injured service members. War on the drugs that matter.
I had this war on meth thing that I felt like because I have the same. I have a comics perspective of the American people, which means for the last 30 years of my life, I've done nothing but travel back and forth across this country, upside, downside, one left to right, right to left. And I've made these people laugh. I've drank with them in bars. I've had dinner in their homes. I've cried with them when their kids died. And, I know them. Donald Trump doesn't know them. Nobody else up there knows. I know them. You know them. I know who they are. I know exactly who they are, and I know what bothers them. And one of the things that bothers them is the fucking meth is just killing everybody. And nobody ever brought that up in this election, that the meth made here, not even the meth from Mexico, the meth made here in America kills more people than ISIS ever will in this country unless something fucking, this is going on right now. 100 people a day, dead.
100 people a day?
100 people a day, dead over either the byproducts of doing meth over a period of time. 100 people a day, easy.
How many people a day die from skateboarding? Google that.
I'd say a half a person a day.
You think?
Yeah.
What do you think is like the most dangerous sport that people die from a day? 100 people a day die from meth?
If it would have been, if I'd have been elected president, here's my plan. So this would have been the most dangerous sport would have been run a meth lab. If that would have been the most dangerous fucking sport, that would have been it. Because I would put U.S. troops on the ground, and I would put a bounty of $20,000 if you can show me an operating meth lab. We'll go in there, boots on the ground. We'll give you 8 seconds to give up your meth babies, and then we're going to kill everybody in the fucking place, and we're going to blow the place up.
You would kill the dude from Breaking Bad? The teacher?
No, I don't think that's real.
But if it was real?
Yeah. Fuck yeah. You know what? Because he's killing people, right, and he knows he's doing it.
Right.
He knows he's doing it. He's doing it just for profit. He's a profiteer.
Could you just enjoy a little meth, like a wine tasting?
No.
Just a little, just a if you had good discipline.
You know what? I could, but still.
I would like to see if Navy SEALs did meth. If you could take like guys with a tremendous amount of discipline. Like if you got Tim Kennedy to do meth one time, I guarantee he's not going to become a meth junkie.
Or crack. Crack cocaine is even more addictive.
Is it?
But meth, you watch the deterioration of somebody on meth over a 10-year period of time. It could be a most beautiful woman in the world all the way down to skank in 10 years, completely toothless. Fucking, it's horrible for you.
Yeah, man, we're going deep down the road of neither one of us know what the fuck we're talking about.
No. No, we're not. Absolutely, we're not. I told you,
I feel like a Navy SEAL can smoke some meth.
I told you a while ago. I'm too fucked up to keep doing the show, and you're the one that kept going.
We're fine.
I'll keep going if you do.
Fine. We're just in a civil debate about whether or not a Navy SEAL can smoke a little meth and just put it down and walk away because he's not a bitch. Okay? No, right? It grabs your DNA, doesn't it?
I don't think
Who
so.
knows?
I think a Navy SEAL could. I don't think a Navy SEAL would do it in the first place. That's
but if
the
they
whole
did,
key
for like
to
an
being in the Navy
Army
SEAL.
investigation.
Yeah, no.
The Army had to find out. Is it willpower? Is it physical? Like, what's the deal?
He'd be sucking a dick for a sandwich in the. No, I'm not kidding.
They don't want sandwiches. They want meth.
I don't know, but yeah, you're right. If they have meth, the sandwich has no importance.
It seems like for a lot of people that's the case. But the question is, how even are we? All of us. Like, how many? Why do some people have cat allergies? Why do some people have peanut allergies? Like, what the fuck's going on? How many people that smoke meth just smoke it and they go, ugh? How many people smoke meth and bing, it just gets them?
It's a high note, right?
Yeah,
like we did with me and you.
I don't think we know, right?
Right. Because some people smoke pot and they go, well, I'll never do that again.
Right.
But I didn't say that. You didn't say that.
No.
I don't like things that make me vibrate, and I like to nap.
Found this.
Responsible
methamphetamine use and community.
I use meth on occasion. I'm not one of those crazies. We'll go through a gram and
God.
Be up for
Says
4
he takes
days
a little
straight.
puff before work.
Oh
Makes a lot
my
of money.
God.
I don't know if this is real, but I mean, there are people apparently that agree with them, and there's a whole community.
Of course they do.
Discussion.
Bunch of meth heads. Yeah. Meth heads are all getting together, chewing each other's fingers off, saying everything's fine.
And you know who's pitching in? The dentists. The fucking dentists are fucking going, yeah, do a little meth. Just do a little meth.
We're going to make you a metal teeth set, like that dude from the James Bond movie.
Arr.
Jaws, remember that guy? Metal teeth. For a while, rappers were going with the metal teeth. Jamie, has that let up? No. Interesting.
It's your grill.
Yeah, the grills are still in full force?
Sure. Definitely, for sure.
Interesting. Ron White, have you ever considered getting a grill? Like maybe perhaps something with platinum and diamonds?
No.
Something? No? Nothing?
No.
Like Little Wayne-esque, perhaps?
That's when, Cameron decided to make my character bald. I don't know if you ever saw it or not, but it was pretty funny. You'd laugh at it. Did you see my character?
I didn't see that show once. If I had known that in any way I could have helped and kept it on the air, I would have watched every episode. How do they find out who's watching? How do they find out? I feel like a dick for not watching your show now. I think I probably wanted to get around to it, but there's a lot of shit. Like, I haven't seen that. Who's the black superhero? Luke Cage. Yeah. I want to see that show. I keep hearing awesome things about it. Now I'm in trouble because I said the black superhero, even though he's exactly that.
Oh, Jesus.
What other one? Like, Netflix has a couple of them. They have Daredevil.
Yep.
They have Luke Cage. What else they have?
The Punisher, I think.
Oh, they have the Punisher. That's right. That's what I'm hearing good things about that, too. But more about Luke Cage than anything. I heard a lot of people. Somebody has a bit about Luke. Oh, Jerron Horton. Jerron Horton has a really funny bit about Luke Cage. Jerron Horton, who opened up for me in Denver at the Comedy Works.
Yeah. Is he from Denver?
No, he's from here. He's from L.A.
And you brought an opener all the way from...
Funny, man. I always bring openers. You don't bring openers? What are you doing, texting people? Whoa, what's happening there?
That's my character.
Oh, Jesus Christ. What did they do to you? How rude.
I'm bald.
They made you look like shit. I like the glasses, though. And the T-shirt.
Well, those are the glasses that they didn't like at the fucking audition.
Those glasses are awesome.
Yeah.
Fuck them. That's funny, man.
Yeah.
So do you enjoyed doing that show, though?
Yeah. Yeah, it was a blast. The dialogue was a blast to do. You know, you'd like it. You watched episode 8.
Is it available on Netflix or you got to go to a Showtime app? I know I have Showtime. Do they do it on demand? Is it on demand?
Yeah.
I don't know. I saw it was on I think it was a Delta flight.
I think right now those providers, all these different people are trying to figure out how to get that straight. Like, so you can watch pretty much. I mean, how many years you think, if you're realistic, how many years are we away from everything that everyone makes being able to be watched online real close? It's just got to be some universal currency thing, some universal one click like Amazon, something along those lines where you can get things like on the spot right after they come out. Because like, that's going to massively increase how many people watch your show or any show. Because some people just don't want to pay for that Showtime package. Maybe they're broke. Maybe they have one chance. Like, what do you want? Oh, let's get HBO. Or maybe they're really cheap and they're like, oh, I'm going to with Cinemax. I get Cinemax only.
What's that cost?
$50. I don't know. I don't know what it costs. I have no idea. Cinemax is awesome. That's not my point. My point is that if you have it online, if it's easy to get to, you get this open river. It's like the blockades you put up where it makes it hard for people to buy shit. That's what fucks everything up. Like, oh, you want me to sign up? Oh, I don't want to sign up. I got to put my email address. Oh, here comes the spam. If there was just some one easy way that you could put that fucking thing online, just one simple way where everybody could just give you like $1 or whatever it is for an episode. Just real easy.
Right.
Let me watch an episode real quick.
I agree
It'd be goddamn everywhere.
It'd be everywhere.
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 It's just right now, it's too complicated. Right now, they're trying to figure out the various portals for people to be able to profit off these things. How do we start this?
I can't wait. I can't wait to figure it out. Because I don't profit off of the internet at all.
At all?
No.
You definitely do. Because people on the internet love you, so they come to see you.
Well, yeah, in that way they do. I do that.
Yeah, that's a big part of it, right? Got to get the Ron White show started. Jamie, this is important. It needs to be done, right?
No.
No?
What do you mean, a podcast?
You should do something like once a month.
No.
Where you commit to once a month.
Just
once a month. It's not that much time for an hour. Ron White answers questions.
All right, I'll do that.
Look what we did. Look what we did.
Boom.
Look what we've created here.
All right.
You don't have to. Did I put you on the spot?
No.
I feel bad now.
No, everybody's been on me to do it. But once a month, nobody said that.
Once a month's the way to do it.
Nobody said that. Everybody else is like 17 days a week. I'm like, I don't have 17 days a week to fucking do this shit.
That's what I was going to tell you earlier. I would never encourage any changing of any of what you do, because then you wouldn't be Ron White. But if Ron White decides at one point in time that he wants to change whatever behavior, if Ron White decides that he wants to start drinking carrot and ginger and garlic juice every morning and going to the fucking CrossFit gym.
I'm drinking Jack Daniels with you. You're Mr. Mixed Message.
I'm definitely a mixed message.
You are.
I'm 100%. And I'm guilty as charged. Just trying to squeeze as much life out of this thing as we can, Ron White.
I know.
Squeeze.
I know. But I'm not sure that helps.
I don't think so either.
The expression is little old man, not big old man. It's
true.
little old man. It's little old man. You never hear anybody say big old man.
This poor little old man.
Tiny little old tiny man.
He's got the cane.
He's bent over. He's 104.
That is the great grave pulling him towards it. How fucked up is that? That it's ultimately what is actually happening to your body as you get older. You have a stick to fight off the slow pull of gravity.
Tenacious.
That's just sucking you into its grave.
The undeniable, constant pull that it used to kick your ass when you were a baby, and you just fall over and kick your ass all the time, and then you got a little stronger, and then it got to where you could fucking run, and then it got to where you could jump, and you were like kicking gravity's ass for a few years, but gravity never stopped.
Never.
Gravity never fucking stopped. Gravity kept on fucking tugging on your goddamn ass.
Gravity's like Nick Diaz in his prime.
Sucking you down to the fucking earth.
Nick Diaz in his prime would land a lot of like 50% punches. He would just kind of like punch your face until you got hurt. And then he would start digging hard. Boom, boom, boom. That's kind of like gravity. Gravity's just slowly chipping away at your meniscus and your discs.
You have even no idea.
Your posture, your hips. Oh, why do your feet hurt? Gravity, bitch. Slowly.
Right. Ankles sucking into your fucking metatarsals.
Into the lava from which you came, Ron White.
Motherfucker.
And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of this podcast. Ron White is available for children's parties. He plays clubs and colleges all across the country. And you can catch him all throughout the land. Ron_White on Twitter. Ron White Official on Instagram. Is that correct, sir?
That is, yeah, I don't even know about the answer.
Hey, everybody. What's up? There's an issue there. Indiana Jones, but
it's not quite that, and not quite cowboy. Yeah,
but it's you're like in the middle of that. It's amazing, and there's nothing to install. DuncanTrussell.com, made with TV that benefit you, whether it's benefit physical performance, pages of awesome articles on nutrition, just all sorts of awesome stuff, and it's all totally free. You could just put his hat on. I couldn't believe Indiana Jones. Give it up for my friend Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Joe Rogan Podcast, check it out.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Train by day, Joe Rogan Podcast by night, all day.
That's a nice hat. I've told you already, but live, I got to tell you, that is a nice. It's very kind of Indiana Jones, but
it's not quite that, and not quite cowboy. Yeah,
but it's you're like in the middle of that.
Yeah.
You're riding a wave. You're dancing on the edge.
Well, I have a really fat head, and so there's this website called bigheads.com.
There's a website
yes,
for
it? A total website for fat-headed people. I got to get my friend
Bert Kreischer a hat then. I put his hat on. I couldn't believe how big his head was. There was like an inch gap all around my head. I thought I had a big head.
Yeah, so if you know your head size, do you know your head size?
No, I do not.
So it turns out if you know your head size, that number comes from somewhere. Can I tell you what it is?
Sure.
So if you measure the circumference of your head, just get a tape measure, like you're measuring your waistline, but do it around your head, and take that number, divide it by pi, then that's your hat size.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Seems complicated.
Divide by 2?
Why can't it be just like your waist, 32? You know, your waist is what your waist is.
I know. It just is what it is, right? Just why can't it just be the circumference, right? So what it turns out to be, so what that means is, if you're dividing by pi, you're getting the diameter of the circle that has the same dimension as the circumference of your head. So if you have an oblong head, then what it's doing is finding out what the circle is, the diameter of the circle that has that same circumference as your head.
Oh, okay.
That's what that's doing. Whether that helps the hat maker.
So immediately I start thinking about Dan Aykroyd on Saturday Night Live as a cone head.
Oh,
right. Remember?
Well, then you need a tall hat for that too.
There's an issue there.
Yeah. So, dude, you're still doing stand up. That's great.
Constantly.
I'm loving it.
Yeah.
And I caught you a few months ago. You were emceeing some MMA. Was it? What was?
Well, I'm always doing that. Yeah.
Oh, you're always doing that. Okay, I only catch some of it then.
Well, I
think it's great you stayed in shape because I'm a fat slob right now.
You were ripped back in the day, man. I saw a picture of you when you were wrestling, and I was like, "Damn, Neil, you look good."
I had some street cred back then.
Do you exercise at all now?
No, I try. It's not that I don't have the energy to. It's trying to find the time.
There's you back in the day.
Ooh.
Look at you, shredded.
Ooh.
How much did you weigh back then?
Oh, I was go on.
176.
No. I'm 6'2", so I'm 190 pounds in that.
Oh,
exactly 100. I have big thighs and stuff. Other wrestlers would have skinnier thighs and things. So I was also taller than anyone I wrestled. So since we're the same height, it meant they had bigger muscles, actually. So because we're the same weight, right? But did I say that right? I'm taller,
right?
But we're the same weight. So that means they have bigger muscles.
Right.
Because none of us have fat, right? So I had to do things that my lankiness would enable me to do and to accomplish that they couldn't. So I have long reach, you know, this sort of, I scoop an ankle, that kind of thing.
There's great advantages to having long limbs in martial arts, particularly in wrestling, grappling, because of leverage.
Yeah, also if you're quick and with long limbs.
Yeah.
And I was both. But if they got me in their grip, it was hard for me to get out.
So what kind of exercise do you do these days?
No, that's not, no.
Nothing?
No, I'm trying. I'm trying. When I'm in, I'm good. But I've just got so much going on.
Yeah.
And you have to make the time.
That's a problem, right? When you become a little bit too successful for your own good.
I saw some food. There's a lot of food documentaries, trying to get you to eat differently. So I thought I'd watch them all. I binged on them one weekend while I was doing other stuff, and I
got hungry.
No, one of the guys, he was trying to lose 100 pounds or something. So every 15 pounds he lost, he put a bowling ball up on the counter. and said, that is what I'm not carrying around with me.
Whoa.
Because the bowling ball is about 15 pounds. And I said, wow, he's measuring a weight in bowling balls. That's something. Because we say, oh, I'm 3 pounds less and 2 pounds. That doesn't hit you emotionally the way a bowling ball does.
Yeah.
After you've lost 15 pounds. Because no one wants to be carrying that around. So psychologically, I thought that was quite potent.
That is potent. I think we do need some. I usually use like plates. I think of weight plates or dumbbells.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that works too. Yeah.
I started doing intermittent fasting pretty recently, where I only allow myself to eat 10 hours in a day.
Oh, wow.
That's
10 hours out of the 24-hour day.
Yes. So
14. I had Terry Crews on my radio show on Star Talk. My boy's ripped. Okay.
Yeah, he looks great.
He's still, and he's like 47 or something. I mean, so he doesn't eat until 12 noon.
Oh,
and then he doesn't eat till after 10 o'clock. That's right.
Yeah, 10 hours.
And then he doesn't eat after 10. Right.
Yeah.
So it's a 10-hour thing. And so he's watching everyone else have brunch and breakfast. And so he's got to overcome that. But so it's a little bit of fasting each day.
Intermittent fasting.
Just to keep the discipline. I think it's, at the end of the day, it's really just discipline.
Well, it's not just that. It also forces your body to burn fat instead of carbohydrates. And when it forces your body to burn fat, that state of ketosis is actually easier to maintain because you don't get hungry.
Yeah, then there's no roller coaster.
The crash, the carbohydrate crash that you get.
Right.
Is that outside of the realm of possibility for you?
No, I can totally. I'm a ketosis guy.
Anything involving science? Come on, I mean, it's in there, baby. It's in there.
I once got raked over the coals, not by everyone, but I tweeted once. I said, if there was a diet book written by a physicist, it would contain one sentence. Consume calories at a lesser rate consume calories at a lesser rate than you burn them.
That is sort of true.
That's the one sentence diet book. No, it's more complicated than that. And everybody just try to get it's this, it's that, and that. And one of the great things of physics, when you do physics, is all the details are just cut off it's window dressing, and you get down to the window itself. And that's what the analysis works on.
I have rarely seen you attacked, but I did see you attacked when you were celebrating Sir Isaac Newton's birthday.
Oh,
I was like, people were so mad.
People lost their minds.
They lost their mind when you were, by the way, incorrect in the date of Jesus' birthday. That is not the date of Jesus' birthday.
Jesus was not born on the 25th. Right.
No, I mean, it's just...
Right. Plus, I didn't even mention it. So what I said was, by the way, that to this day is my highest retweeted tweet.
I tweeted it. Ever. I retweeted it.
So you remember, it's actually a couple of years ago now.
Yeah.
So it was, on December 25th comes.
There it is.
Oh, you got
Child
good.
Was born who by the age of 30 would transform the world. Happy birthday, Sir Isaac
on this
Newton.
day long ago, a child was born who by age 30 would transform the world. Happy birthday, Isaac Newton, born December 25th, 1642.
79,000 retweets, 86,000 likes.
People just lost their mind.
They were so mad.
They were angry, and I thought, well, interesting, because I'm just speaking the truth here.
Yes.
He transformed civilization actually, he did it by the time he was 26. So, yes, it's provocative because you're expecting that Jesus is going to end that. But I thought I'd share some actual truth with people. And so some people celebrated it, deeply religious people. One had a headline saying, Neil deGrasse Tyson is trolling Christians on Christmas Day. Well, and I said, Newton at least has the benefit of actually having been born that day. And then later on, it's actually more subtle than that with Newton, because he was on the Julian calendar, which is 10 days shifted from the Gregorian calendar. So if you ask what would his birthday be today, it would be January 4th, not December 25th. Oh. So... yeah, but when he was born, his mother was celebrating Christmas, so that's really what matters for that tweet.
Well, it's such a bizarre thing anyway, because if you're a real Christian, you would understand that the birthday was shifted in order to comply with pagan religions.
Yeah, exactly. It landed... I don't know how many people know that, actually. I mean, you're a well-read guy, but so if you give me a minute to just explain that. So December 21st, we know, is the first day of winter, shortest day of the year. And what makes it shortest daylight of the year. And what makes it short? The arc of the sun across the sky is very low. the sun doesn't get very high. And it doesn't stay up for very long. And it's been coming a lower and lower arc every day en route to December 21st. The ancient peoples were worried about this because everyone worshipped the sun because it made your crops come and it gave you warmth. And you say, wow, if this keeps going lower and lower in the sky, we're going to lose the sun entirely. December 21st, the sun slows down and it stops this drop in its movement across the sky from day to day. So that stopping of the sun is solstice. That's Latin, the stationary sun, like armistice, stationary arms, right, from the end of the First World War, November 11th that was. Armistice, solstice. So the movement of the sun lower in the sky stops. But that doesn't mean it's going to come back. It takes a few days for it to slow down, stop, and then reverse. You say, oh, it is coming back. Let's celebrate that. And that's a few days after December 21st. It's about December 25th, a pagan holiday celebrating the return of the sun. Christianity is trying to take foothold where pagans once roamed. And you put celebrations that match theirs just so that the shift is not as hard for you. And the unknown birthday of Jesus was then assigned this pagan day of celebration to make that transition easier for the pagans to become Christians. And sure enough, it remained Christmas Day.
And isn't it speculated?
It remained the birth of Jesus.
The speculated birthday of Jesus is like the spring.
The spring.
Right?
There's some passages, of course, in the New Testament that reference what the sheep were doing. Plus, there's a census being taken by the Romans, which is what, and Mary goes to the manger. The animals are not in the manger, not at the. So there's secondary evidence for that it's probably happened in the spring. That's
now,
right.
with the advent of commercial space travel, which seems inevitable. Seems inevitable, right?
Love your segues. Yes, okay.
Do you think that it's possible that maybe you could even offer up a flat Earth believer tour, where you take them, like at the very least, take them up to Alaska where it's light for 23 hours a day?
Flat Earthers calling into you? Is this
tweeting me constantly?
Really?
Tweeting me constantly, yeah, calling me a sellout. I'm a sellout. I'm a round Earth sellout. Like as if there's some round Earth money.
Wow.
Yeah, like
you're on the payroll.
I'm getting some checks. I'm getting some round Earth checks to keep the nonsense going.
Some round Earth payola for your show.
I'm sure you've seen the basketball player who graduated from Duke.
That was hitting the news the last couple of days.
And
I saw
he believes that dinosaurs are fake and that the world is flat.
Okay, so here's the thing, Joe. Okay, here, I've thought about this.
I bet you have.
As an educator, I've thought about this. Okay? So here's what matters. All right, we live in a free country. People should be able to think whatever they want, whenever they want, provided it doesn't subtract away from someone else's rights. Okay. So thinking the earth is flat doesn't harm anyone unless you want to run for office or you want some position of power over other people. That's when it's dangerous. I'm thinking of elevator banks where they have numbers. I have a photo essay of what elevators look like inside. I know it's just.
You mean the gears? And
no, not even that geeky. Just what are the numbers on the panel?
Oh, without the 13, you mean?
Yeah, exactly. So about 80% of buildings taller than 12 stories don't have a 13th floor. Okay, and so this trixidecaphobia is again in a free country. If you want to be afraid of the number 13, go right ahead. It just seems to me you should not be tasked with designing elevators if that's your fear. Find something else to do. Holding aside the fact that I'm a little scared that in this 21st century United States of America, we have people walking among us afraid of the number 13. What does that mean? I don't know in the long run. But if you keep to yourself, don't harm others, think whatever you want. So the rubber hits the road is you now have power over others. And that's where the failure of the educational system actually manifests.
Well,
that's how societies and cultures collapse.
Right, but it's not that they don't know that there's a 13th floor and that you're just calling it the 14th floor.
I want to take my Sharpie, cross out the 14th, and say, that's the 13th floor. You're not fooling anybody.
Now, when you see it on an elevator and you see no 13.
And plus they try to fake you out.
How do they do that?
So they go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12, and then you have to go to the next row to begin for the 14. So you don't see 12 right next to 14. And that some modern buildings will put their heavy machinery, like the HVAC, on the 13th floor, so that there's no residency there, right?
But they could still say it's the 13th floor, and then there's the 14th floor.
Yeah.
Does anybody ever have a dummy 13th button where you press it, it never lights up? Like, I don't get it. I can't get in there.
Oh, that's interesting.
That's what I would do.
Oh, you just put it there to satisfy me, but still nobody lives there.
Exactly.
And what? That's too clever.
Go, this is one of the 20% of people that makes sense. This is what a great building. Meanwhile, there is no 13th floor. It's just a dummy button that never lights up.
Remember that Twilight Zone episode with the mannequins? They went up to the 11th floor, but there is no 11th floor. And the mannequins come to life at night.
Ooh, I forgot about that one.
Yeah, they leave the store floors, and they all go up to 11, then have a cocktail party, and they vote which one of them is going to go out and become human for a day.
The Twilight Zone was so good.
I think it was the best television there ever was. Like, still, to this day, ever.
They've used up so many great premises.
Great premises, great actors, great cinematography, and it was in black and white, so shadows were completely dark.
Yeah.
Because shadows don't have much meaning when you film in color, because everything is just there. But in black and white, the shadows create moods.
Yeah.
And, so...
I watched To Serve Man the other night. I hadn't seen it in a while. And
To Serve Man.
I had it on the DVR. I'm like, let's just
sit down and watch this. And then they had Big Guy who played Lurch on The Addams Family.
Yeah, that was a great one, because it was just like it had all the elements of people going, well, they seem nice.
They seem nice. Yeah. And they solved all of our war and our famine.
It's a cookbook. Yeah. God, that was great. They had
Another good one was the Invaders. Do you remember this one?
No.
This was a one-woman performance, and I forgot who it was. Was it not Agnes Moorehead? One of these women of that era. It'll come to me in a minute. And she's living alone in a farmhouse, no electricity. She's got a farm, and she's alone. And some alien spacecraft lands on her roof. And it's got these devices. It's got these saws and lasers cutting through things. And she's freaking out. She's got the pan and the pots and the rolling pin. And she gets the shotgun. And she's attacking this thing. And you don't know what it is. And it's got lights and a thing. And it's this tiny little thing. It's like 3 inches across, right? And it turns out that's the thing that's attacking her. And then she finally comes. That's it. See the little robot? Okay. And so she's like, and then I got to give it away. The show's 40 years old. I can give the punchline, okay? So she actually successfully damages the thing, and then you zoom in on it, right? And then you hear a radio transmission from the aliens that are inside, and it says, hello, Houston, there's a giant who's trying to attack us. We need help. Send backups. Oh, it was great.
Whoa.
We were the invaders. That was us landing on her home on some other planet.
Or some parallel Earth from some other dimension.
Who cares?
Where
it's just
Earth is small.
No.
No? Oh, okay, I get it. So it's another planet.
She's the giant. Right. And they're saying there's a giant attacking us.
Right.
But the whole show, have her point of view. These aliens are trying to hurt her. When it was our space probe just trying to explore its environment.
But isn't it possible that it's like another dimension? It's us in another dimension, and they are landing on Earth?
Except it is. No. I mean, they were speaking English.
But couldn't they have just parallel evolution? Well, isn't that the definition of infinity? That somewhere, if there is really an infinity, there is not only a you and an I, but there's a you and an I, and everybody else we've ever met, and all the exact events in the exact same order have gone down an infinite number of times, including this conversation.
Okay, except there is. I don't know how many people know this, but often it's mind-blowing when you learn that some infinities are bigger than others. Joe Rogan just leaned 2 feet away from the microphone.
How's that?
Yeah, not all infinities are the same size.
But if it's infinity, then it's infinity. It's infinite. What is no?
Okay. Don't you remember when you were a kid? They said, what's the biggest number you know? 1,000,000. Well, there's 1,000,001.
Right.
Okay, how about a billion? Well, it's 1,000,000,001. The annoying kid always added 1 to it. Okay, how about infinity? Well, infinity and 1.
Right.
Okay, well, it turns out infinity and 1 and infinity are the same number. Okay, so here's so for example, the number of counting numbers. So 1, 2, 3, up to infinity. Okay?
Right.
The numbers you would use to count things, that's infinite. The number of irrational numbers, so the numbers that you cannot represent as a fraction, okay? That there are more of those than there are counting numbers.
Whoa.
By far. So these are orders of infinity. Then there are more transcendental numbers than there are irrational numbers.
What's a transcendental number?
So that's a number that you'll never find as a solution to an algebraic equation. So pi is a transcendental number, e is a transcendental. These are magic numbers that show up in mathematics. And turns out there's like an even bigger infinity of those than there is of these other two classes of numbers. And they use the Hebrew letter aleph in ranking. So it's Aleph 1, Aleph 2, Aleph 3, Aleph 4. I think there are 5 levels of infinity. So my point is, just because there's infinite universes, to me, doesn't mean there's infinite conversations that have happened. And I'd want to really explore the depths of infinities before I say and agree with you that this conversation has happened a million, an infinite number of times in just this way, except you have a different engineer sitting next to us, and
an infinite number of times where it's been Jamie too, right?
Yeah, in principle, that's the argument that's given. But I think that there's some nested infinities in there that deserve some explanation.
My feeble brain is not handling this well.
Well, that's fine. As I say in the epigraph of the book.
Book is not available yet, but I have a copy. Ha! Astrophysicist for people in a hurry.
Astrophysics.
Physics for people in a hurry.
But you got to say it right.
Astrophysicist for people in a hurry. You come over to their house. Hey, what's up?
Here's how you say it's called astrophysics for people in a hurry.
Oh, you got to say it quick.
You got to say because you're in a hurry. So the epigram on that is the universe is under no obligation to make sense to you.
That's rational.
And I've tweeted that before. And so it makes sense to you that the universe is under no obligation to make sense.
Yes.
So it's okay if your brain hurts when I say there's a ranking of infinities, but you shouldn't say that doesn't make sense, therefore it is not true.
I definitely wouldn't say that. But what confuses me is the word infinity, because I had always taken the word infinity to mean something that has no end. So how can something that has no end be larger than something else that has
So
no
the way they do that mathematically, the way to demonstrate that mathematically is you map one item in the set of this infinity to corresponding items in the set of the other infinity. And so you do this. So you take the 1 and you map it to like the first transcendental number. Take the 2 to the second. You just keep doing this. And when you do that mathematically, what you find that one infinity outstrips the other infinity.
Wow.
And then you're left with more numbers. So that shows you that you have a bigger infinity.
Now, when you find, there's a new NASA announcement that's supposed to. Is it Monday that's supposed to be announced, or tomorrow?
Exoplanet?
Is it tomorrow? The exoplanet.
Yeah, it's a Wednesday.
Yeah.
So it's Wednesday. I don't have.
You don't have juicy details.
I'm not authorized to.
Okay. If you did have juicy details,
let me invent some juicy details that it could be. So NASA. So he's been good at segueing lately. He's
jumping in.
He's
questions.
just jumping.
I know I only have you for a short amount of time before you got to get that red eye.
I'm flying back to thanks for fitting this in, Joe.
My pleasure. Anytime. I would open this place up at 3 a.m. for you.
Oh man, no, I feel the love. So thank you. Here's some things it could be, because NASA's saying that it's a stunning new announcement. Well, what could be more than the fact that we already know that there are Earth-like planets orbiting in the Goldilocks zone of the nearest star to the sun, Proxima Centauri. Can you do better than that for me, NASA? I don't think so, unless you got some extra stuff you're going to tell us, like what's been a cottage industry in the last couple of years is the observation of planet atmospheres. As the planet passes in front of the host star, light from the host star passes through the atmosphere, and the light signature is altered by the chemistry of the atmosphere. So depending on what the chemicals are, it'll influence the spectrum that you get. And when you do that, you can say what the chemical composition of the atmosphere of that star is. There's certain combinations of elements that we would call biomarkers. No, we can't look down to the surface of the planet and look at cities, if there are any. But there are consequences in the atmosphere to there being life on the surface, such as, is there oxygen there? I used to think when I was watching Star Trek when I was a kid, because I saw it in real time, that's how old I am, when it first came out, original series, the Star Trek characters never wore spacesuits.
Yeah.
You ever wonder? I mean, you ever thought about that? Okay. What happens is they visit planets that have nitrogen, oxygen atmosphere, Jim. All right. Well, that's what our atmosphere is, nitrogen. So they find planets with nitrogen, oxygen. They go down. They don't need a spacesuit. So they've actually thought about that, and that's their solution. So that must mean there'd be planets that you could find that. Well, here's the thing. We have oxygen on Earth only because there is life on Earth. Not any kind of life, photosynthesizing life. We have life that takes sunlight, turns it into chemical energy, into itself, into wood, into plants, and one of its byproducts is oxygen. Oxygen is chemically active. If you took away all plants tomorrow, that oxygen would slowly get absorbed chemically into the environment. And then you would not have oxygen there to be viewed by aliens trying to see if we have life here.
And it's pretty surprising to people to note that we're mostly nitrogen in our air.
Oh, yeah, we're 78% nitrogen in our atmosphere. You know what happens if you have too much oxygen? If you have, like, let's say 50% oxygen,
you
or
get really
more.
high, right? Isn't that part of it?
No, what happens is, like, a forest fire would never go out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because oxygen feeds combustion, and so you could basically burn all vegetation in the world if the oxygen went above certain thresholds. So you need it high enough so that you can still have oxygen metabolism, but not so high that it's bad for lightning-triggered forest fires.
So
but
if
my
they
point is,
see that,
so if I don't know the announcement, but I'm just guessing here because it's been a cottage industry the last couple of years. Let's find these biomarkers. Do you have unstable chemistry going on in that atmosphere? Because if you do, it means something's generating it, and certain combinations of chemistry tells you there's likely to be life of some kind.
Now, just a couple decades ago, we had speculation of other planets, but we really didn't have any tangible proof.
In fact, anytime I give a public talk, you can do this in your gigs. Ask who here is born since 1995. Okay, and your audience leans young, so there'll be some fraction of the audience that'll raise their hand. And so what I do is I knight them as Generation Exoplanet. Because 1995 was the first year that a planet outside of our own solar system was discovered. So they have been alive only during a time where we've known of other star systems.
That's so crazy.
Generation Exoplanet. That's what I want to start that movement.
It's so crazy. That's so recent. I mean,
it is. Yeah. Oh yeah.
I was living out here.
Yeah, it's 24 years ago. 22 years ago. Yeah.
That's insane. If you stop and think about what a short period of time that is, and in that period of time, we have
thousands. There's rising through 3,000 exoplanets. Wow. This is the advance of tech. That's not just science advance. That's engineering and technology and telescope quality and imaging quality. And there's a lot that goes on to the advance of science. It's not just how clever you are in an Einsteinian way. It's, do you know good engineers to build a device to make the measurement? This is how we discovered gravity waves.
Now, what's your take on that planet that's supposed to be outside the Kuiper Belt? That's only speculation so far?
Planet 9.
So far?
Yeah. All the data look convincing. So what they've done is they've looked at other objects in the Kuiper Belt and looked at these are colleagues of mine at Caltech. So it's Mike Brown, who, I get blamed for killing Pluto, but I was an accessory for sure, but I definitely didn't kill Pluto. That dude killed Pluto. All right, he found another object that was basically the size of Pluto out there. So either you make that a planet, or you demote Pluto.
And how much smaller is Pluto than, let's say, our moon?
Oh, so don't get me started. Our moon has 5 times the mass of Pluto.
Wow.
So Pluto was lame from the beginning. All right, we thought it was big. We wanted it to be big. We made it one of us, one of the 9, and its size didn't settle out until the late 1970s, where we had better and better, more accurate ways to measure its size, and that's when we learned it's small even compared to our own. But granted, we have a big moon, but if you're not going to think our moon is a planet, you're certainly not going to think that Pluto is a planet. So this object, let me just tell you how they did it. So they found these other objects out there, the same team. Constantine, I guess pronounce his last name, Bottingen, and Mike Brown, both at Caltech. And they found these objects in the the Kuiper belt of icy bodies, of which Pluto is a member. You track their motion, and you say, okay, if I add up all the gravity that's affecting them, they should move this way. But they don't. They move another way, a different way. So either Newton's laws of gravity are failing in the outer solar system, or there's some object out there whose gravity you have yet to reconcile with the motions of these objects. So they said, let's assume Newton is right. What object do we have to put out there, at what distance and at what size, to influence the movement of these Kuiper belt objects in the way we see it?
And did they do this through Bode's law?
No, we're way past. No, we're way
past.
Guys, thanks for remembering Bode's law. But Bode's law was an early measure of where you might find a new planet.
And it was based on mass and gravity?
No. Bode's law was a simple arithmetic tool. All it did was basically double the distance with a certain additive parameter.
Double the distance of known planets?
So, for example, and there's a factor in there that helped the inner planets come out right. But let's look at Mars. Mars is like 2.5 times Earth's distance from the sun. What comes after Mars? Jupiter. Jupiter is 5 times Earth's distance.
Oh, I see.
Saturn is 10 times. So we went from 2.5 to 5 to 10. So Bode's law is just a simple arithmetic scheme. It's not based in any known physics.
And it was only based on the solar system itself.
On the solar system itself, that's right. So, and it worked, and you have to fudge your way to get Mercury to work in that.
Oh, really?
And it didn't have Pluto. Of course, Pluto wasn't a planet anyway. But anyhow, it was a fudgy way that was mostly right by accident.
And this was in, like, what year was this?
Oh, that was 1800s, basically.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so now we have advanced computer programming, very high precision modeling, and they're saying there's got to be a planet somewhere here in this arc of the sky. Let's look for it. Because we think that's what's affecting the orbits of these other objects. And that is a completely noble way to discover a planet. That's how Neptune was discovered. And because everyone looked at the orbit of Uranus and said, Uranus is not following Newton's laws. Maybe Newton's laws don't work that far out. It's never been tested that far. And they said, well, let's assume it works and ask what would have to influence it. And by the way, it's a difficult mathematical calculation, because you're not saying, here's the object, what's the gravity field? You're saying, here's the gravity field I need, where must the object be, and how massive must it be? That's a much harder mathematical problem to solve. And so once the errant orbit of Uranus was known and calculated, they started looking for another planet, and that's how they discovered planet Neptune.
Wow. So now when they're looking at this planet 9...
I hope I said that right. It was the movement of Uranus's orbit was not following proper laws, and they inferred the presence of Neptune. They said, look here tomorrow night, and they looked there, and they found it.
Wow.
Yes, it was a brilliant display of, and we're going back, this is the 19th century. So, I mean, people were badass. At every generation's got their badass scientists.
Now, how much further out from the known solar system is this unknown planet supposed to be?
So I'm not quick to call it Planet 9, because
so far out there?
It's 20,000 times farther away from the sun than the Earth is. So I'm not, sorry, you're not in the family.
You're not in the neighborhood.
No, you're not in the hood. No. Sorry, I'm not feeling it.
It's like calling Connecticut New York City.
I'm not feeling it.
Yeah,
not feeling it.
So, but it's something massive, right? It's like 6 times the mass.
Hey, Daniel Pawn 3D. It is the Joe Rogan podcast with Neil deGrasse Tyson. That's what I'm listening to.
Yeah, I forgot what mass they were assigning it, but yeah.
And thanks for watching.
If that were in our solar system, there'd be no question you would label it as a planet.
And it wasn't there one-time speculation that it was some sort of a burnt-out star that existed?
No, not at that mass. No. You might be thinking, if that's what I think you're thinking, you got good memory. Long ago, in a galaxy far away, so I'm talking about the 1970s, people looked at the extinction record on Earth. And every 20,000 years, they found a little blip, a little dip in the fossil record where we lost some species. And people were wondering why. Could there have been some flux of comets raining down periodically on the Earth, wreaking havoc on the ecosystem, rendering species extinct in these periodic intervals? If there is, maybe there's some double star to the sun.
Right, binary star
some
system.
binary star system. So they invoked it, and they called it. They came a name it. They called it Nemesis. They gave it a name, and so you know what orbital period that object must have. It's got to match the extinction periodicity, and so it's got to be a 20,000 year period. And so, but people looked for it, they couldn't find it, and then you reanalyze the extinction records, and you had to fudge it to make it look like it was periodic. So basically, we've abandoned the idea of Nemesis.
And aren't binary star systems really common?
Yeah, more than half the stars you see in the night sky are binary or multiple systems. In fact, the iconic image from Star Wars, the original Star Wars movie, before they numbered them, I think, what Star Wars 4,
Tatooine, right? Is that where they were?
Well, yeah, whatever that desert planet that Luke was on, and he comes out after visiting his step parent? No, his adoptive parents.
I don't remember.
Whoever he was visiting, he comes out and you see a double sunset. So that's basically the only accurate science in the entire series. Star Wars series.
That was another thing I really enjoyed is you're taking a part of Gravity, the movie Gravity, and how many people got mad at you for that?
Yeah, so I stopped commenting on movies. I don't need to piss people off. When I watch a movie, I'm having those thoughts anyway, so I might as well share them with people if you're interested. So I did just that. And then the last time I did it was for Star Wars The Force Awakens, Star Wars 7. I had a series of tweets. One of them was BB-8, a smooth rolling metal spherical ball, would have skidded uncontrollably on sand. People got angry. Someone tweeted back, "Shut the fuck up." Okay? That's so I said, okay, I'm not here to get people angry. I'm just here to enlighten, to help people enhance their movie-going experience. But to the extent that it is not accomplishing this, I don't need to do it. I'm just saying. I'm an educator. I thought I was being nice. I don't need to do so. I haven't tweeted about a movie since then. I got tweets I could post.
Don't let them stop you.
I have tweets I could post about Arrival.
Please do. Well, I didn't watch that.
Okay.
I watched a little bit of it. I shut it off.
Okay. No, you got to give it a chance.
As soon as I see a movie that starts out, spoiler alert, starts out with a sick kid, I'm like, fuck you. No. I know what you're doing.
No, in fact, it's very not about the kid.
I'm sure. That's what I keep hearing.
It's totally not about the kid.
Jamie hated it.
Oh, yeah? Yeah. Okay. So you just give it a chance. But anyhow, so I just stopped. Maybe I'll come back, but
Do it!
Yeah.
People need to know.
Yeah.
Like Gravity. That was good that you explained that not only is this not plausible, those two satellites aren't anywhere near each other.
Oh my gosh. Then they were said, there's the International Space Station and I'm on the Chinese space station. Let me just jetpack my way there.
Yeah.
It's like, do you realize, excuse me, lady, hey lady, do you know how far away these are from one another? You can just jet around from one space station to another?
No, can't do it.
They're tens of thousands of miles from one another. For goodness sake. But anyhow, you remembered these tweets.
Please keep doing it.
It was like 15 tweets, and I didn't know. That was when I realized, like, the press was reading my movie tweets. And those tweets, this is now a couple of years ago when Gravity came out with Sandra Bullock and what's the dude's name? George Clooney. So I tweeted it, and they got talked about on the Today Show, the weekend Today Show on NBC. Then it was talked about on NBC Nightly News. Then my tweets were talked about on Saturday Night Live's The Weekend Update. It was like the NBC trifecta. And I said, my gosh, that was not the point. I didn't seek this. It's fine. I'm glad they are reacting this way, because that means they care about the science, maybe. But what Seth Meyers did, because he was doing Weekend Update at the time, he said, astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson harshly criticized the movie Gravity, saying it contains a number of scientific inaccuracies. For example, there is no way George Clooney would have spent that much time talking to a woman his own age.
That's hilarious. I think Sandra Bullock's still younger than George Clooney, though. So they should have got their facts right.
But not by much. I mean, they were in the same neighborhood.
Yes, they're in the neighborhood. Yeah. I think it's important. I think that you enjoy the movie. It's great. It's fun and everything like that. But it's important to point out what the science errors are. I think the movie could have done better. Honestly, I think they could have made the same movie.
By the way, I did
with
like
correct
the
science.
movie. People thought I didn't like the movie when all I was doing was pointing out things they got wrong. By the way, they did some stunning things correctly. For example, this is brilliant. if you're in 0G, a fire basically puts itself out. So think about it. When you burn a candle on Earth, so you light the wick. Does people have candles anymore? They forgot what a candle is. You light it with a match that you used to get from smoking lounges at bars. All right, so you light the candle, and it stays lit. The fuel is the wax. The oxygen continually comes in because it heats the air around it, and the air rises. Hot air rises, and fresh air comes in from below and has fresh oxygen. So the candle will stay lit until it burns all the way down. In space, if you light a candle, you can light the candle. It'll heat the air, but the air will not know where to go because it's not lighter than everything because it's in 0G. It'll stay clustered around the candle. The candle will use up all the oxygen in that bubble, and then it'll put itself out. They did this in the movie.
So why do they have some good science?
Because you can't think of everything.
Why don't they just have you on staff?
Well, no,
bring you in.
Well, no, because maybe I couldn't think of anything. So you can't think of everything. So I wasn't judgmental so much as this movie. The fact that it got so much right is what put it on my map to criticize what it got wrong.
That makes sense.
Does that make sense? Okay.
Like the hair.
It earned the right.
Hair.
Yeah, the hair, her bangs should have been floating.
Floating all over the place.
Now, if you might think, am I nitpicky? No. Because if you look at any picture of somebody with hair, okay, in space, in 0G, their hair is flying everywhere. It's the first thing you notice about them. It is so obvious, like, wow, that's the cool. You're not thinking about the spaceship or the high technology. You're looking at the hair doing stuff you will never see happen on Earth unless someone is like underwater and they're jiggling their head.
So they would have to film it all in zero gravity. They would have to film it all in one of those drop things.
Yeah, or the drop thing. Yeah, they'd have to be clever about it. And she only had bangs. That's all you had to figure out how to. They did other clever things. So anyway, that's all I did. By the way, in all fairness to movies, I'll call out something that's good, that a science that a movie got right, that otherwise got no science right. I'm the first in line to do that.
Like what?
Oh, in the movie Monsters, Inc., oh my gosh! You didn't think I was going there, did you?
No.
Those doors were 4-dimensional portals to another.
That's possible.
Well, if you had 4 dimensions, that's what it would look like. Do you remember the movie?
Yes.
They take the doors home.
Yes.
They open the door, and they're in the closet of the kid that they're going to terrorize.
Yes.
That's a wormhole. That is what access to the 4th dimension looks like.
Do you think scientifically that's possible one day?
I hope so. I hope so.
Really?
Because here's the example. We've got a nice broad desk we hear at this interview, right? So desk is 2 dimensions. It's got length and width. And I can start putting papers on this desk, and I can lay them out mosaic style. And then all of a sudden I have no more room to put a sheet of paper. If I'm an ant living in this surface of the desk, I say, no more room. But wait a minute, we are 3-dimensional people, and I can put an organizer and stack things vertically. So I can take a sheet of paper, and now I can put it higher up than the surface of the desk. The ant will say, where did it go? Oh my gosh, it disappeared in some portal. No, what is that? It went into the 3rd dimension, and the ant ant obviously is a 3-dimensional thing.
Right.
Imagine it only lives in 2 dimensions. You would have made that paper disappear into a 3rd dimension, and it will have no clue where it went because you had a portal. You had access to that extra dimension. So look at how much you can store on a desk when you have access to a 3rd dimension above it. Vastly more than just papers mosaicked out on the surface. So now let's up this example by a dimension. You're storing boxes in a room. Oh, I ran out of room. No, you didn't. Let's open this 4-dimensional door. You open it, put the boxes through the door, close the door. Box is gone.
That'd be awesome for hoarders.
You look around the other side of the door, there's nothing there.
Right.
Your side of the door, nothing there. It's just a door. That is a portal to a 4th dimension that can hold vastly more content than what you're stuck storing in the 3-dimensional space of your room.
Now that concept,
that's a brilliant concept. And even though it has monsters that don't exist, that all speak English, and one of them is a cyclops, and one of them is I'm not judging the biophysiology of these creatures, but they got the physics of 4-dimensional portals completely accurate.
Now, the concept of dimensions is where it gets really abstract with people.
I love me some dimensions, and it is abstract. It is.
Now-
And that's why you let the math take you into those higher dimensions, because our intuition will fail for us.
Right, well, that's where it gets weird. When you say take the math, or let the math take you. So, like, when quantum physicists use these legal notepads, those yellow pads, and write all that crazy stuff down that nobody but you and maybe them understand, and when you look at all those equations...
No, it's them, maybe me. Not
maybe
me,
you.
maybe them.
Well, them, you probably understand it, right? But I definitely don't. My point is, what are they exactly figuring out that allows them to say there are, I think they say, at one point in time it was 11, but I think they've expanded that, right? What are they saying
so
now?
I don't have the latest dimension count on the universe, but the way it works is you're trying to make sense of the world.
Right.
And so you take some leaps, some philosophical leaps, some mathematical leaps. You say, all right, maybe all particles that manifest as an electron, a proton, a neutron, quarks, maybe they're just strings of energy vibrating at different frequencies. And we sense these different frequencies as different particles. Let's just go there for a minute. Well, if you're going to do that, what are the consequences to it? Then, and how many dimensions do these vibrating strings require to have the properties that we see in our dimensionality? So the exercise of explaining what you see takes you to places that you've never been before, and that's fine. Places, intellectual places that have been previously unplumbed. There's nothing wrong with that. We've done that before. That's why we know what is happening in the center of the sun. Have we ever been there? No. But we know how matter behaves under pressure and temperature. We can do that in a laboratory. We've got a sun sitting out there with a surface temperature, a mass, a certain luminosity. And we say, what must be going on down in the core? Let's bring our best physics, our quantum physics, our chemistry, our nuclear physics, bring it all together, and we have a complete understanding of what's going on in the center of the sun, and we're on to other problems now, even though we've never visited there.
So when they're going over this the mathematics, and like observable things that we have right now are at like the atomic and subatomic level, correct?
Well, we don't. You can't see. Do you realize the electron? Okay, so I did a whole series of this. There's something called the Great Courses lecture series.
It was a sponsor of this podcast for a while.
Were they really?
Yeah.
Okay, Great Courses. So cool. So I was once invited to be one of their professors for the Great Courses, and I taught a very short. Most of them are like 30 lectures. It's like a whole college semester. So, and I don't have the time, the energy. So they let me do like short bits. So one of them was only 6 parts, and it's called The Inexplicable Universe. And it's 6 parts of everything about which we know nothing in this universe. And you might say, well, that's a pretty easy course to give. Dark matter? Haven't a clue. Okay? On to the next lecture.
It might be something.
Dark matter? Yeah, it could be something. We don't know. Stay tuned. So, but it's interesting to learn how we come to know what we don't know. And so it's an exploration of our ignorance. And I'm very proud of it, because it's not what you would normally find in a lecture series. And it's still out there. But one of the things I will tell you in it, and I'll tell you now, the electron has no known dimension. It is smaller than the smallest we have ever had the capacity to measure. So as far as we are concerned, it is infinitely small.
Whoa.
We have no way to even know how to measure. By the way, how do you measure something small? You get something smaller and find out how many of those it is.
Oh, my head. My stupid head.
Think about the challenges at each extreme. Ask me, how big is the universe? And I'll say, it's as big as, well, I got nothing. What am I going to say? Right? There's nothing as big as the universe. So at the biggest end and at the littlest end, there's not something else. It doesn't work as well. Okay, to try to say what it is relative to something else.
Do you entertain the possibility that the biggest end, the littlest end are the same thing? Meaning that at the smallest measurable point, that literally might be a whole nother universe that like might be fractal?
It's fun to think about. It's all the way down.
Yeah.
It's fun to think about.
Like infinitely down. Like down.
However, and people, by the way, in the 1920s, when we discovered the atom and its structure and that there's an electron in, quote, orbit around a nucleus, it was like, wait, we've been there before. We got planets orbiting the sun. And so so maybe it's a mini solar system. Maybe it's solar systems all the way down.
Well, I'm glad you brought this up. I'm glad we brought this up because I wanted to bring this question. I almost forgot. There's a photograph of a brain cell and side by side with a photograph of the known universe, and they look eerily similar.
So you're talking about the large-scale structure of the universe, where
large-scale
there's clumping of
yeah.
galaxies. So I'll get to that in a minute.
Pull that up, Jamie.
Okay, so I'll get to that. So, do you ever tell him just pull up his own damn images?
Yeah, but I can't put it on the TV, so he has to do it.
So you, so here's why that's not likely.
Okay.
It was an entertained idea, but here's why it's not likely. The manifestation of the laws of physics are different at the atomic scale than they are at the macroscopic scale. They're just simply different. A planet can take any orbit sensible for its velocity around a host star. An electron cannot. Its energy levels are...
Thank you, Leo. Glad you're liking it. Thank you for watching, brother. Appreciate it.
predetermined and quantized, hence the word quantum, the prefix quanta in quantum physics. So if it was a continuum of matter and energy following the same laws of physics, then I would say then it's solar systems all the way down. But the rules completely change. And so things can, on the surface, seem similar, but when it comes time to understand them and to analyze them and to manipulate them and to exploit their conduct and their behavior for other means, as we have done with atoms and molecules for the entire IT revolution, no longer are they the same, and you abandon this romanticized concept. So now with the neurons, the network of neurons and the clusters of galaxies and galaxy superclusters, that would be on the right, neurons on the left.
That's so eerie.
Yes. So yeah, they can look the same, but they're operating under completely different laws of physics. So in other words, the laws of physics that dictate what's going on in brain cells have no relationship to what's going on in the universe. Brain cells, you're undergoing, we can tell you what forces are operating. It's electromagnetic forces. Brain cells use electrical impulses, chemical impulses. This is why drugs can affect the brain. All right? There's chemistry going on in the brain in its natural state. You disrupt that, enhance it. You just put down some chemistry in your stomach that's now affecting your brain. What did you just drink there? What was it?
Alpha brain.
Alpha brain. Okay. Yeah. So you're entering the chemistry. So it's chemistry. What's going on the large scale structure of the universe is not chemistry.
Right.
There's some chemistry deep within, but it's not. The chemistry is not what's making that pattern. And because of that, it becomes an artistic curiosity, not something that has any kind of deep scientific insight.
So it's just a fascinating
it's disappointing
similarity.
Yes, it's a fascinating similarity. Put them up together, and it's fun to think about it. But it's not. It's fun to think about it artistically, but not scientifically. No.
It's great if you're hanging out with your friends going, wow, man.
It depends on how high you are.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But now, when you're looking at subatomic particles, excuse me, and you're looking at these, like, when they observe particles in superposition, where they're moving and stationary at the same time, where they blink in and out of existence, like, when you get down to that.
And I repeat the opening page of the book. The universe is under no obligation to make sense to you.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, it doesn't. It definitely does. Very
so
few
particles,
things.
So at that scale, things that go on with atoms and molecules fall outside of your life experience. You don't hang out at the bar with protons, nucleons, or other nucleons or molecules. You just don't. So what they do in their day is completely foreign to you. So now you shrink down to that size, and particles are popping in and out of existence. They become conjoined, quantum mechanically conjoined, and it's completely weird. And you would say none of this makes sense.
And this is observable.
Yes,
in a visual sense.
Well, it depends, depending on how big the phenomena is. Otherwise, you can see other things that would happen that that are the manifestations of that happening.
Right.
Yes.
But so an electron is smaller even than that?
Oh, yes.
By how many factors?
No, we don't even know. We don't know how small an electron. We've never measured the size of an electron.
The concept of superstring theory. So these vibrating strings are smaller than that.
Yes, the strings would have to be smaller than the electron itself. Yes,
by many.
That I couldn't quantify for you. I got to bring in a string theory person.
So it's like at the bottom of what we can observe.
Well, that's a great question. What is the bottom? And the word atom, which was introduced by the Greeks. You know what atom means in Greek? It has a translation. You know what it means?
No.
Indivisible.
Ah.
So they imagined that all matter you'd come down to something that was indivisible.
How the hell did they figure that out?
No, they didn't figure it out. They supposed it, and
but
they were
it's
deep
amazing
thinkers.
That they were right.
The first they were wealthy and had free time, and when they were
Affix, I think is what it is. Wow, nice Zbrush. Gotta love a bug that keeps crashing the model. Oh yeah, it's cool, but we're gonna find a way around it. I think I'm gonna change it to a Q cube. Boom. And then I can delete it. And we're good. Alright, so if you ever need to get rid of something, change it into a Q cube and then delete it.
They weren't waging war, you could think. And, what we think of as philosophy is traceable to a lot of what they were doing back then. And the origins of what...
Thanks, brother. Sleep well, Leo. Alright, we're gonna get this crash sorted out. Shellfish like. Bullion on. Serial. We're gonna go to this. Change into Q cube. Q sphere. Q cylinder X. Move it all around. We'll just forget about it. I don't want to deal with that.
Sciences are traceable to back then. That you'd have an idea that applies to what the universe does, that enables you to predict future behavior. That is science. And so the atom, it turned out, is divisible.
Oh, Lordy N99. I'm working on a female character and I'm completely lost in how to model proper anatomy. Look up Scott Eaton. Look up Ray Bustos. If you're trying to sculpt a female face, Steve Lord has some really great videos on that. John Brown, he has Sculpting the Femme Fatale. He does it traditionally, and it's a Gnomon video, I believe. It's kind of old, but he gives so much gold in that tutorial. So look up John Brown, Sculpting the Femme Fatale on Gnomon Workshop, and that should help you a whole lot in terms of studying anatomy in a correct way.
It's divisible into subatom particles. So you get electrons, protons, neutrons, and a whole host of other particles less from...
Oh, and was it Yami Torres? Hopefully I'm saying that right. Does every studio make you do an art test? No, not the ones that don't want you. But, no, seriously, though. I think if they're interested, they will. And if not, it's still fun to do. I mean, it's a crunch, and I'm gonna learn a lot and have to figure out a whole lot of shit and study a lot of mechanical, how it works, hydraulics and stuff like that. So it's definitely a chance to learn a lot, and yeah, it'll be fun. But yeah, it's crashing a lot, but we got it fixed. We just changed it to a Q cube and a bunch of different things, and then we forgot about it. We just left it alone. But hopefully that'll fix it. But thank you for watching. I appreciate it. I like the idea of the art test. Yeah, me too. It's fun. It's fun. It's a good challenge. Pushing the boundaries. Yeah, and save a lot. Quick save is really good, and every time Zbrush crashes, it seems to do a really good job of saving as well. Yeah, save a lot and revision saves. Yeah, for sure. Always. I usually, I have a Batman I'm working on. It's like version 30 something. I don't know why I have 1 through 15. I'm pretty sure I'll never go back that far, but yeah, it's really cool. And thanks everybody for watching. That's super cool of you. And if you have any other questions or anything, just let me know.
Familiar. There are neutrinos and other things. Then it turns out protons and neutrons are further divisible. You get quarks out of those. And as far as we know, there are only 4 fundamental particles in the universe. The photon, which is light, the electron, of which there's several species. There's the anti-electron and this and that. But let's stay simple here. The photon, the electron, the quark, and the neutrino. Oof. That's it. Everything in the universe that we've ever observed is made out of that stuff. Oof. So those are, quote, the atoms of the universe, the indivisible parts, if you will.
Now, this is a good opportunity.
By the way, dark matter could be made of yet another kind of thing that we don't know yet. But we got top people trying to figure out what dark matter is. We've measured it out there. We just don't know what it is.
Well, it's something like 90-something% of the universe.
If you add up dark matter and dark energy, it's 95% of all that drives the universe. And we can measure the existence of both, yet we have no idea what's driving them.
This is an awesome opportunity for you to illuminate this often.
But it's all in astrophysics for people in a hurry.
Okay.
It's all.
It's out in May.
It comes out in May. You can pre-order it, which, by the way, publishers love it if you pre-order. Isn't it adorable? But
it's beautiful. It's a good size.
It's adorable.
You can pre-order it on Amazon?
The reason why publishers like you to pre-order it is so that they can
gauge how many.
Yeah, they just want to. They don't want to overprint.
Right.
They don't want to underprint. So they get a sense of the pre-ordering, because you're not charged until they ship it. So it's a pretty harmless exercise.
While we're on this subject of subatomic particles and weirdness, I wanted, if you could, illuminate this often misused explanation for the observer effect, because the particles, waves, and you watch them and observe them and it changes the reaction.
It is heavily misunderstood.
It's misunderstood because people want to attribute it to magic, the magic of the mind and the consciousness looking at it, but isn't it in fact just measuring it?
Yes.
Thank you. Please explain.
Next question.
No, explain to people, because I'm so tired of talking to hippies.
Good. Joe, you're good.
It just drives me nuts.
You got to carry your people with you.
I try.
Where are they coming from?
Where
are you pulling? What? Where are you getting your people?
I don't know. Well, I don't own them for sure.
You don't own them,
so they're
okay.
definitely not my people. They vary greatly. You can't even.
Let's see, Mehmet Guvin. I hope I'm saying that right. What do you think about that arms animation? I think it's gonna be real shitty because it doesn't make any sense. But yeah, I'm just kind of working things out and throwing things in certain areas, and whatever idea comes, I'm just gonna freaking do it. I think the more that they see that I try to work it out, the better, because they said that they wanted to see whips and stuff like that, so I'm just going to send them a time-lapse video and just recording me working stuff out. So, yeah, I'm not worried about failing at it right now, because I know I'm going to, because I know very little about all this stuff. Like, you know, like this stuff is totally not correct. And I totally know that. But, you know, still going to put it out there. I just kind of want something that I can draw over like I did in Photoshop over here. See, kind of drew it and just took some ideas, left some ideas. You know, don't want it too busy. The more blades that I put on here, the more it's going to confuse it. And I'm trying to maintain, you know, that level, and I'm not very good with hard surface, so I don't want to go too far into complexity. I just want to stay in my lane. And but yeah, it's going to be very difficult to animate something that doesn't make sense. And thanks for the question.
Even loop them together.
I know
if
you have an admirably diverse following, and that not many people can claim that, and it's probably because of your diverse profile, right? I mean,
well, I'm as open-minded as I can
but
be.
But on top of that, you're smart and you read and you're thoughtful and you're also on some level respectful. You'll hear somebody out, and you got your MMA thing. So no, you're in a lot of places and a lot of spaces, and that's a good thing. I mean, we need more unity in this world. So
well, thank you. Yeah, thank you. So please explain what people are getting wrong.
Okay,
they're
so
very
it's
simplistic.
It's much simpler than you think.
Okay.
All right, you ready?
Yes.
So I'm looking at you. The only reason why I can see you is because there's light reflecting off of your face, your body, into my eyes. So there's light. Oh, by the way, these are stars. That's beautiful.
Yeah, those are Hubble photographs.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, those are images from the Hubble.
I didn't notice that when I walked in.
They're sheets that you put over the fluorescent light cover.
Very
and
nice.
So when we look up, we actually see the real images from the Hubble.
You're pretending it's the night sky.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't
and
look
you're
as
not
cool
in a completely cavernous
as it could be.
Recording studio.
Well, what I want to do in the future studio, I want to actually build a glass ceiling and have a full-scale image, high-resolution image of the stars.
So a planetarium.
Yes.
Yeah, you're describing a planetarium.
Yeah, exactly.
Call it that. It's a planetarium.
Well, something like that. But I just wanted an image.
Do better than that.
Is there a way to do it? Tell me how to do it. I'll do it.
No, do better than that. You get you get a curved version of those very high resolution LED screens.
Curved.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you put any image up there you want.
Ooh.
And then,
okay.
so it's the night sky tonight. It's what the sky looks like from Alpha Centauri.
Oh, so like when you go to see one of those star shows at a planetarium and they show it on the ceiling above you.
Well,
Kenneth Petrie. I don't know. I've never said your last name in front of you. Hopefully I said that. Bethany. I don't know. I think I can call you that. Yeah. But anyway, he's asking, when do you have to have this done? They said 1 week, and so I'm on day 3. Right? Is that what I wrote? I don't even know anymore. Yeah, day 3. So I got 4 more days to get this guy done. So kind of want to have it all done tomorrow in terms of its design, and then retopologize it for about a day and a half, and then UV it, and then texture it, and make the materials, put it in Unreal, and send it over to them. So that's what I'm gonna do. Hopefully it works out, and thank you for watching.
Well, yes, but nowadays that the ceiling itself is the source of light.
Right.
It's not projected from something
Right.
else. So then you just feed that with image data, and then it
Dude.
becomes whatever you want.
Can you hook me up with someone who knows how to do that?
Yeah, I can totally.
Oh, I'm excited.
Yeah, I know you don't know people. I got people.
Well, I mean, people
you,
that like
you need my people.
planetariums.
You need my people for something.
Well, you know
I knew-
the
I
real
thought you had people.
But you know the people at the top that would teach the people. So we'll
Okay,
get,
so
we'll
here
go
it
with
is. I'm
them.
looking at you.
Okay.
All right.
Yes.
And I see you. I want to know where you are. So I turn on the lights and I say, there you are. All right. Now, let's make you tinier. Let's make you mini me. Okay, like in the movie.
Right.
So now it's a tiny version of you, a mini me version of Joe Rogan. Now you're little. I turn on the lights. You're still there. Okay?
Okay.
Because if the lights are not on, I can't see you. I don't know where you are.
Right.
It's that simple.
Okay.
Okay? When you start becoming the size of molecules, right on down to the size of an atom, and I ask the question, where is Joe Rogan the atom? And I turn on the light to see you there, because I think you're there. The photon comes in, hits your atom, and pops you into another location. The very act of trying to measure your position prevents me from measuring your position. And it doesn't have jack shit to do with your consciousness or your mind or your eyes or anything. It has to do with the fact that to know you're there, some information has to come from you to me, like shining a light on you. And the smaller you are, the more susceptible you are to the energy of the light changing your position in space.
So my question is,
You know
how
what it's
do
like?
they know?
You know what it's like? You ever, I don't know if this has still happened, a quarter spills out of your pants pocket in the back seat of a car, and it's there in the wedge between the bottom and the back seat, and so you try to reach in to get it, and the act of reaching for the coin makes the coin move farther away from you.
Ah.
The act of reaching for it.
Right, because you separate the
You're
cushions.
separated, and it just slides down even further. That's not your mind making that happen. It's the act of the measurement that is affecting what it is you're trying to measure. And this was discovered in quantum physics, and to the point where it's the Heisenberg uncertainty principle. It's one of the basic foundations of all of quantum physics.
Now, when it's
And it's
described,
profound. It's profound.
But when it's described in the woo-woo way, they show these particles going through these slots, and then observing them changes the pattern that they go through with. And there's a horrible cartoon that you see in that movie, What in the Bleep?
I couldn't get through that movie. I tried.
Did you go crazy with the bad science?
No, can I tell you where I turned to? Maybe
Please.
I should.
Well, here's what people don't know. A lot of that is from a cult. The woman
That I didn't know.
The woman who is the
I don't
main
mind
woman.
I don't mind a cult movie. I don't. You know.
She's a channeler. She's
Okay.
speaking as a character. Like,
Okay.
do you know that one blonde woman, older blonde woman that's in that movie?
Yeah, okay.
And she
Uh-huh.
speaks. When she speaks, she's speaking as a character.
Okay, I didn't know that.
You
I
have
don't-
to like. She's a part of like this very bizarre sort of cult.
Okay.
And
Should I tell you where I tuned it out, or you want to finish?
Please
your,
do.
Or do you
No,
want to finish?
go ahead.
Okay, so I just couldn't watch it. Right, there's a point where they were talking about natives in the Caribbean seeing European ships.
yes,
And then they said, well, because they'd never seen a ship before, they brain didn't register it as anything, and then it just disappeared.
bullshit.
And I'm thinking, no, that's not how the brain works.
Yeah.
Excuse me, that's not how this works, okay?
Yeah.
What would happen? They might not know what they're looking at, but they'll know they're looking at something. And they've had ships. They went from island to island. That's how you get from island to island. They say, well, that's a really big version of what we've never seen anything that big before. I don't know what it is. I don't know where it came from, but I want to find out. I want to study it. I want to protect myself, whatever. So just because you've never seen, doesn't mean you're not going to register it. Excuse me? No.
Exactly.
No. Then I said, no, I can't waste I got other things I got to devote my brain energy to instead of this. But someone else said, oh, it gets better later on. So I said, maybe I'll one day.
Oh, no, it doesn't.
It doesn't?
No, it does not. It gets more confusing later on, and it does a better job of confusing you as to what science has shown and what they haven't shown.
Now, by the way, just in all fairness to I think that the point they were trying to make, there are things that if you don't know to recognize them, they would go undiscovered.
Yes.
Okay? But that doesn't mean you wouldn't see them. Okay? So, for example, let's say you're walking and you didn't know that you were walking over this huge burial mound because the slope was really shallow, and you're just walking. Okay, well, you didn't notice that. Okay, so you need a different way to see it in order to know. So from space, from an angle, measure the height, whatever. So there are ways to miss things. And that happens all the time.
Right.
But if it's something there on the horizon, my gosh. This is why we have eyes, okay? Now, they're not the best data-taking devices, but if it's come time to tell you whether there's a ship or not a ship that you've never seen before, it's a ship.
Of course.
Okay? Oh, yeah.
Of course.
I'm sort of screaming at you.
There's so much evidence of that when people discover new animals.
Yes.
They've never seen things before. Anything.
New anything.
There's
My
no
gosh.
record of it whatsoever. People find it and they can still see it.
Most scientific discoveries, you discover something we've never seen before.
Ramtha. That was the woman's name. That was the person that she was channeling.
That's a cool channeling name.
Yeah.
If you had to have a channeling name.
Ramtha,
if I were a channeler, I'd be Ramtho.
I found that after the movie was done. After I watched it, they got me with a lot of things. I was like, wow, is that true? Is that real? And then I started reading. Fortunately, that movie came out in the 2000s instead of in the 90s. Because if it came out in the 90s, we would have all got duped.
Oh, yeah.
Because we wouldn't have the internet. We wouldn't be able to research all the shit that's wrong with it.
Right.
But in the 2000s, I started researching it, and then I would send it to my friends. Like, look where the fuck this came from. And then you go, oh, that's a cult? Yeah, it's a cult. The lady's a cult. She's talking like she's an alien. She's supposed to be an alien, right? Isn't that? Do you see it in there anywhere?
Again, I don't mind if people think they're channelers. I just don't put them in charge of anything. That's all.
Well, it's not
a free
that
society.
mind. It's just that you should probably say that when you get going with that thing
in advance,
the beginning.
yeah, up front.
Yeah, so I know exactly what I'm
she's not
getting
going to say this is
involved
a cult. Nobody ever says
she
that.
just calls herself Ramtha.
They think it's real and genuine, and they're very sincere because they've duped themselves.
Well, that whole thing.
So what you need is you know what you need is some foundation of science literacy so that you can inoculate yourself against those who would exploit your absence of knowledge of how the science works for their own gain.
Well, not even for their own gain, just YouTube videos. I mean, someone could make a very compelling YouTube video where they get you convinced that, oh my God, dinosaurs aren't real.
Right.
They start playing these things for you. They tell you
Or cell
about
phones can pop popcorn. If you ever see that one?
Oh, I have seen that one.
Yeah. You line up sometimes and then they start popping corn.
Yeah, you got to direct them.
That was a fun one.
At the
That
kernels.
was a fun one. Yeah,
that can't really happen.
No, of course not.
Of course not.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if it could? Jesus Christ! We'd be like, what are we doing with these phones? But there's a ton of those out there where people see it's one of the problems with a lack of dialogue with someone who just has one narrative. Like you sit down, you edit something, and you just talk. And, it's very similar to, like, even if you write a blog. I mean, it's one thing if you're writing a blog, like, say, if you're an expert in electronics, you write a blog about how a television works. But if you're just a person and you don't really understand what you're talking about, but you write something and you use the right words and you say it in a very compelling way, like an attack piece on someone that really has no basis in reality, you can have someone convinced this person's a terrible person just by writing something without them having to respond like, hold up, stop, never did that.
I tweeted a few weeks ago. I'm not going to botch it because it's way better as the tweet than I will ever remember it as the tweet. So it was one of the great challenges in life is knowing enough to think you're right, but not enough to know you're wrong.
Yeah. Well, that is a big problem with a lot of people that watch these YouTube videos.
That's what it is. They think, oh, this is right. Oh, my gosh. But they don't know enough to know why it's wrong.
Well, this is what I want to talk to you about. What is it about people that there's this very compelling need to find something out that other people don't know, like the world is flat, like dinosaurs aren't real. Like that kind of stuff is very compelling to people.
So what I do in those cases, in the
Bigfoot.
So what I do is I would say, instead of debating them, and some of your listeners are listening to this right now, all I would do is say, what is your best single bit of evidence for what you're claiming? And what would it take to show that you're wrong?
All right, well, let's go with a simple one.
So that's what I would ask.
Okay.
And I've done this exercise, and it doesn't work. You know why?
Why?
Because there was a guy who didn't believe we went to the moon. We spent a third of our time in our last session there. So there's someone I know who doesn't believe we went to the moon. Let me just say he's skeptical. So I said, what kind of evidence would convince you? He said, images of the landing site of the Apollo missions. So I said, okay. Here's a website where we sent, in fact, it wasn't us, it was the Chinese. I think it was the Chinese or Europeans, sent a probe, an orbiter to the moon so that it was close enough, because ground-based telescopes are not, they don't have the resolution to see the landing sites. But if you get close enough to the moon, you can. It photographed the entire surface of the moon, and there were the landing sites, and you saw the rover tracks and the base for the lunar module. And so that night he went home and found it. And then he came back and says, well, NASA could have faked that. Well, I'm done with you. We have no more to talk about. Because he's not ready to be convinced.
Well, that's a weird one, too.
Because I gave him the evidence he asked for.
Exact evidence.
That would convince him, and it did not convince him.
That's a singular event.
Said, I have no other conversation with him.
That's a singular event, which you could say in one way or another, like, it is possible that someone could fake a singular event. They can't fake whether or not the world's flat, right? Like, that, to me, is the scariest one. That there's so many people out there that believe the world is flat. Because you could literally see the curvature of the Earth from a plane. I mean, you can get to parts of you look at the images from the space station where they circle the moon, or they circle the Earth, rather.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's many satellite images of the Earth in its entirety. You know, and one of the things that the argument was how come every photograph of the Earth is a compilation of photographs? Well, because they're all taken from 300 miles up. The Earth is huge.
Yeah, hers is way bigger than 300 miles.
Yeah, you have to take compilations. You have to. That's the only way to get images
except
of the
for the
Earth.
Apollo photo. The Apollo 17 coming back has the Earth. That's the famous one that has Africa and Antarctica in view. It's the full Earth. Very few full Earths. It's very hard to get a full Earth single photo.
Of course.
And when we went to the moon missions, when they're coming back, think about it. To get full Earth means the sun is behind the astronauts on the way back to Earth, which means the side of the moon facing Earth is not lit. But that's the side of the moon they came from. So they want to visit the moon while it's sunlight there. They don't want to need flashlights when they get to the moon. So they visit the moon while there's sunlight. Earth, the view of Earth at that time will not be full. So Apollo 17 was there long enough so that by the time they left, the moon was basically a new moon. Earth was full moon. Earth was full Earth, and then they got a full Earth photo.
Those packs that they have on their back that regulate their temperature, that allows them to walk on the surface of the moon when it's 250 degrees above zero.
Well, the side that's facing the sun is more than 200 degrees, and in the shadow it drops
250 degrees below, right?
Yeah.
So can it switch back and forth between those two environments?
Yeah, what you just insulate. The astronaut's insulated, and so when you're insulated, those temperature extremes are not felt, or they're minimized.
And it's regulated by the pack.
Oh yeah,
in some sort of way.
Yeah, so it's a life support.
The pack goes warm.
It's not only oxygen and it maintains the temperature,
but it's capable, obviously, of warming and cooling.
In the face of what's going on, it maintains the temperature. That's how you need to think about it.
Okay, so regardless of
it's not that it's cooling one side of you and chilling the other and heating the other side.
Right.
It's maintaining a temperature for you.
And when you are in space, like say when they're doing a spacewalk, like on the space station, same
thing as being on the surface of the moon.
Because there's no atmosphere.
On Earth, you are in this cocoon, dare I say, of atmosphere. So all the air in this room is the same temperature. Because the air can communicate a difference in temperature to itself, equilibrating it across the whole room.
Right.
If you don't have air, then your temperature is measured by where's the energy coming from that's hitting you. And if the sun is hitting you, all that energy will be raising your temperature, and the side of you that's not facing photons, that temperature will drop. So you could survive it if you put yourself on a rotisserie. Figure out the right rotation rate.
And even then, you'd have to spin pretty quick in order to balance it all out.
I have to calculate that. Yeah, you have to figure out what the right rate is.
Now, when you get in a debate with a guy like that,
I don't debate
B.O.B.
people.
guy.
I don't debate people.
Okay, well, when you discuss,
because as the saying
educate,
goes, when an argument lasts more than 5 minutes, both sides are wrong.
Well, that's a terrible saying. It's definitely
it's mostly
someone
right.
wrong, and the other person's stubborn. It could definitely last for hours.
Yeah.
That's not true at all.
It's not. It's true 80% of the time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But you got into it with that rapper that thinks that
I'll tell you why, B.O.B. Because in his Twitter stream, he was saying he was invoking physics. And so I gotta deal with this.
Right. Yeah.
And so he showed a picture from Bear Mountain, which is a mountain in slightly upstate New York, where Manhattan is in the sight line of the summit of this mountain. And he says, given the curvature of the Earth and this formula, you should not be able to see Manhattan at all. Okay.
It depends on the height that you're viewing.
Well, thank you. Well, so you do the math, and it turns out Manhattan, the island, would not be visible at all. That's true. But any building taller than 15 stories would rise up above the curvature of the Earth, and you will see it. And if you look at the photo, you see the tall buildings rising above 15 stories. It's exactly what the correct formula shows, and not his formula, which was wrong and misinterpreted, claims to show.
Well, it's just bizarre because snipers have been using the literal curve of the Earth to plan where bullets go. That's
if
how
they
you
want it that
plot
precise.
out.
Oh, yeah.
You have to when you shoot at a mile.
Yeah.
When you're shooting like well out over 1,000 yards, those factors.
So let me think. A mile. I have to ask, how much curvature of the Earth do you get after a mile? It's an interesting
also get drop
question.
You get drop and curvature.
That'd be gravity drop.
Yes.
And then curve. Yeah. So both of those.
Yeah. Well, there's a good. Well, here's the thing to say, someone. If you have a bullet in your hand and you shoot a gun, which bullet drops faster?
Right. Generally they get the wrong answer to that.
Yeah, they drop at the exact same rate.
They'll hit the ground at the same time.
Exact same time, and that blows people's minds. They can't believe that's.
But we do that in Physics 101. It's a physics demo. So that's why physics is so important. People say, "Oh, let's take biology and this." Great, but don't leave out the physics, because that's where the fundamental operations of nature are to be found, of the physical universe are to be found. So what you have is you have a gun at one side. It's like a thing that shoots out a projectile. I don't want to call it a gun. At one side of the stage, and then you have like a little stuffed animal at the other side of the stage, held up with an electromagnet at the top of its head. And these two are exactly the same level. As the projectile comes out from this mini cannon, it trips an electric circuit that releases the electromagnet at the top of the stuffed animal. The stuffed animal begins to fall. The bullet moves horizontally, but also falls, because gravity is pulling them both. And you watch the projectile curve down, you watch the stuffed animal curve down, and it hits the stuffed animal every single time.
The only factor that would change that would be if you put wings on the bullet and it was dealing with the wind.
Wings.
Right?
Yeah, wind would affect it.
Yeah.
Do they have bullets with wings? I haven't seen that.
No, they don't.
Okay.
No, but if they did.
Yeah.
If like you shot the bullet and then they figured out like clink and the wings came out.
I saw that on some James Bond movie. I
Probably.
thought.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's just got to be frustrating for you when these things come back around. Like there was no flat Earth theory when I was in high school. So
there were other things though. Think about it. When you were in high school, there was much more astrology going on.
Oh yeah.
The President Reagan.
Let's talk about that.
Nancy Reagan had an astrologer. So today you don't see much of it.
Unless you talk to Steve Maxwell.
Well, but it's still there. It's just not. It's not manifesting in public policy.
Some people believe in it deeply.
I agree, but it's not up there in public policy. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. Well, Nancy Reagan was really the only one that made it public policy.
Sure, but at the bar, do you hear people saying, "What's your sign?"
Oh,
Is
hell
that still
yeah.
a pickup time?
Oh, hell
still?
yeah, 100%.
No,
Especially,
let it not be true.
Listen, dude, you're married.
On Tinder,
and you're an
married,
older man.
I'm out of it.
You don't
Excuse me.
understand. If you want to get laid, you got to talk nonsense to people.
Got to talk smack.
Well, I'm a Scorpio. And if you're a Taurus, we should just stop talking.
Okay, so I missed that. I misled myself. I thought it was fading.
Oh,
but Nancy Reagan was the big proponent at the time.
But it's nonsense astrology now. It's not like someone who really understands astrological charts and can plot it, and the moon's in retrograde, and you were born on, Celsius is rising, and all that crazy crap that they tried. I don't know what they're doing.
I was on a talk show with an astrologer.
A real one?
Apparently, yeah. She's a real one or a fake one, right?
How do you know?
She says she's real.
Okay.
And I trust her because she talks about how fake other astrologers are.
Oh, she's a hater.
No.
She's a hater. Don't trust her.
And she was saying that the Kennedys all died during a lunar eclipse.
Oh, scary.
And that this is a very checkable statement. She just says this, and everyone's listening and believing. And said, "Wow, that can't be by accident." And, well, I don't know when other Kennedys died, but I know when Jack Kennedy died, and it was November 22nd, 1963. So I don't need to know if there's an eclipse then. I just need to know what phase the moon is in.
Right.
Because you can only have a lunar eclipse when the moon is full. So the moon was nowhere near full. It was like 2 weeks away from full. Even if there was an eclipse, it didn't happen during an eclipse, is my point.
Right.
Okay?
So,
Of course, because it was daylight.
Well, no, you can have a lunar eclipse at any time. Okay?
Yeah, you can have solar
You can have a solar eclipse at any time, too. It's just not for you.
Dark.
It's just not for you.
Right.
It'd be for the other
Somewhere
side of the
else
earth.
in the world.
Right. Don't be so centric. In fact, when there's a lunar eclipse, anyone on the side of the earth that sees the moon will see the lunar eclipse. So, by the way, lunar eclipses, you get several per year. By the way, partial eclipses as a minimum, and every couple of years there's full lunar eclipses. So these are not rare things to start. They're not rare, okay? So I said, he was shot when I forgot what moon it was, a first quarter moon. And she said, oh, well, this counts if they're anywhere within 2 weeks on either side of the eclipse.
What? That's a month.
That's a month out of 12. What? So I said, let me just shut up here and let her keep.
What did she say?
We were sharing the time. It was Pharrell had a talk show. We were both on Pharrell's talk show. So, and he likes science, by the way. And he wore a NASA shirt at the Academy Award group photo.
That's
so
cool.
I got to give him some props for that. So I just say I have nothing more to say here. Hence, my argument with her lasted less than 5 minutes.
Now, what are they when they're trying to decide like what your personality would be and what what you can dictate from your birth date and what time you were born? What are they exactly trying to connect?
So I had a deeper awareness of this recently when I learned that people take the names of things very seriously. Okay? The names mean things to people, regardless of what the thing actually is.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
So what might we mean by this? Let's like astrophysically. I say we have this thing called dark matter. We don't know what it is. Well, it's got to be some kind of matter. No. It shouldn't be called dark matter. It should be called Fred. All right? It shouldn't lead you to think anything about it because we do not know what it is. We should really call it dark gravity. It is gravity that we have measured. We don't know what's causing the gravity. To call it dark matter implies you think it's matter. Some people do, but we don't know.
So explain to me, what is this based on? Like when you say dark matter, what is it based on?
I'd like to just call it Fred for now.
Okay, let's call it Fred.
And I'm saying we don't know what it is.
Right. How is
We've
Fred
measured the
measured?
gravity of this stuff.
Okay.
It's out there. It's 6 times the gravity of stuff that's ordinary matter. We don't know where it's coming from. We don't know the source. We don't know the origin. Is it a parallel universe? We don't know.
And how are we measuring it?
By its effect on the motions of objects. So a certain strength of gravity will force you to move at a given speed as you near it and as you pull away. And we see this in galaxies, galaxy clusters, binary galaxies.
And they've measured entire galaxies that are made completely out of this Fred.
At least 80% of the force of gravity manifested in these galaxies is Fred, yes.
And that's... Why are they calling it dark matter?
They shouldn't, in my opinion. They should call it dark gravity, because that's literally what it is.
So it's gravity that cannot be measured or gravity that's not completely understood.
It's not understood, correct. So it's mysterious gravity,
or it
dark
can't
gravity.
be completely measured.
No, we measure it.
But you can't narrow down what
we
the
measure
root of
its
it
gravity
is.
precisely.
Right. Okay, so you measure it, but you can't
so my
determine
problem
the
is
origin?
because we don't know what it is.
Right.
But my point is because someone called it dark matter, it has swayed everybody into thinking that it is matter of some kind. It has constrained people's thoughts about how to think about this problem. Okay, so now, The ancients looked up and they saw these stars and they put their culture on the sky. So there's centaurs. There's a centaur archer, so it's Sagittarius. We have Orion the hunter. We have Taurus. We have sea serpents. We have rivers. We have stuff that mattered to people back then. Okay? We have Aquarius. What is it? What's the water bearer? Oh, the water bearer. That must mean that when the sun is in Aquarius, it's going to rain more on Earth. Why? Because the ancients called it the water bearer.
Ah, okay.
And all of a sudden, the name reigns supreme over the fact that it is a random set of stars, widely separated in space, that don't even look like people holding a pitcher of water. Of the 88 constellations, about 6 of them look like what you're told they're supposed to look like. The rest require opium-induced imagination to establish what they are. So they all have names. Then you go to the astrologers' tables, and they say, oh, this is the rain sign, or this is a drought sign. And they take the names of things, and those names are what they interpret based on where the moon is, the sun is, where the planets are, and whatever the angle configurations there are. And each angle has a certain latitude over which they'll count it as a hit rather than as a miss. And so this gives extraordinary capacity of the astrologer to tell you what's going on in your life.
So it's bullshit. But they did have this real fascinating connection with these certain constellations and all of the different things that they thought were attached to these certain constellations.
You know what it'd be like? It'd be like a geologist going up to the border of Colorado trying to understand the shape as a geologist. It's an arbitrary shape. Colorado is a square on a curved surface.
It's amazing how much confirmation bias is attached
it's
to
not
astrology,
bounded by
though.
a river, yeah, that's right. So Wiki has a great website on cognitive bias. And there's like 20 or so well-known by every person. It should be, this should be a course called Cognitive Bias 101. Forget college. Every high school should have a course, Cognitive Bias. And the entire course should be about all the ways we fool ourselves.
Don't you think that would be
you know
very
what science
important?
is? So I've tweeted this too. Science. The only point of the scientific method is to make sure you are not fooled into thinking that something is true that is not, or thinking that something is not true that is. That is the only point of the, and therefore the scientific method could be anything you invent. Just take better notes, take a chart recorder, be more awake next time you take the data, bring a friend to observe it with you. Whatever it takes to minimize the chances that you will misinterpret what you're looking at so that you don't think something is true that is not, or think something is not true that is. Do whatever it takes to support that mission statement. That's what the scientific method is, and that's what we do as scientists. And that's why when you bring all of these things that people do, so it's the astrology and the crystal healers and who are the quote therapeutic touch people. And,
oh, don't mess with them, dude. That's real. No, that's real. You don't even understand.
This goes on.
I'm a healer. I'm an intuitive healer.
It goes on and on and on and on.
Yeah.
And these are the things that fail in the double-blind science. And why do you do double-blind? So that you don't fool yourself into thinking something is true. That's why you do double blind. And if you don't, and you want something to be true, even if you're surprised by something that might have been true that you were against, still you need someone else to check it. And you only get an emergent scientific truth when you have agreement among different people's experiments. So even if you get a result that you're happy with, it is not yet a scientific truth until you can confirm it by other people who have no investment in you, who don't care about you. In fact, we're trying to show that you're wrong. This is what made Einstein so great, because no one believed his relativity, and they kept devising ever more accurate experiments to show he was wrong, and it ended up showing that he was right by ever higher precision.
Do you think that we're doing ourselves a disservice by not teaching people how the mind works, how confirmation bias
Completely.
works? And shouldn't that
We're
be
teaching
a big
the wrong
part?
things in school. I'm working on this.
What
in
are
a
you
few
doing?
years. No, in a few years, I'm going to have something.
Why not?
No, because I'm busy.
My kids are in school right now.
Busy. Excuse me. I can't be. I can't.
I understand, but I mean, let's discuss it, because I think it took me a
The
long
curriculum
time.
has to include an entire course on cognitive bias.
Yes.
If we are going to emerge as adults no longer susceptible to charlatans,
Yes.
okay, who are either well-meaning and just misguided, or who are explicitly exploiting your ignorance.
And it's a major factor in our culture, a major factor
Yes.
when it comes to politicians.
It
It's a
drives-
major factor when it comes to bosses. It's a major factor when it comes to how you choose what you do for a living, how
All
you
of
choose to
human
live your
interaction
life.
and human interaction with
Yes.
nature itself.
Yeah. I mean, we are constantly trying to manipulate and control other people's biases, behaviors, the way they think, the way they act, and we're very vulnerable in some senses because this is not something that's taught to us at an early age. You know, and I think that it takes a long time to figure it out on your own. And I've often thought, like, man, why wasn't I explained this when I was young?
Yeah, because the curriculum wasn't thinking about that.
Yeah, well, we're
going
thinking about
forward.
just giving people facts
Yeah.
instead of teaching them how
We're
to
thinking that
manage
your
your
head
mind.
is this vessel into which you pour information. And nowhere and at no time are we trained how to turn a fact into knowledge, knowledge into wisdom, and wisdom into insight. I think that full sequence needs to be in there in the academic system, K through 12, 13 through 16, 13, 14, yeah, college. It's got to be in there somewhere. Without it, you're just this vessel of facts. Even the people we call smart in class, these are people who get A's on everything and they know everything, but do they have the deepest insight? Do they really understand what it is that they're putting back on the test? I don't think all of them do. I think they have good short-term memory, some of them, and they do well on the exams because of that fact.
So they're good at acquiring data and maintaining it.
Acquiring information and then bringing it back on command. Not all. Some are deep thinkers, and I don't want to take that away from them. All I'm saying is that the curriculum, I think, needs these other dimensions of survival, really. So that's what it is. It's survival in a world. And when a scientist says this is true, you can ask, well, why do you think that's true? Exercise some healthy skepticism. I don't have a problem with that. Say, because of, look at this evidence. Do you know how to read evidence, by the way? And look at this evidence. Look at this chart. Look at this experiment. And this is why we conclude overwhelmingly that this is going to happen in our future. Out of you pointy-headed scientist, what do you know? By the way, give me my cell phone so I can call my grandmother, okay? While I use GPS satellites to know when to make a left turn.
Right.
Right?
I'm going to call my astrologist.
To tell them these scientists don't know, they got their head up their ass, right? So.
Yeah. Well, I think also it would be really beneficial to teach people how to manage perspective and how to look at life in a way that's going to be beneficial to you. But we're not really given very many tools to manage the mind.
Like philosophy, there's some philosophy classes that can help that.
But even philosophy,
not all philosophy, but
yeah, it's very rare that
philosophy of just how to think about decision making, and the causes and effects and consequences. There's not enough of that either.
No,
maybe they're relying on that to happen at home, but not all homes are intact.
Right.
In fact, perhaps most are broken homes or separated homes, and so I think the school needs to be rethought, and I'm trying to think that through. It'll be a few more years.
Well, anytime you talk about alternative schooling, people look at you like you're some sort of a hippie freak who wants your kids to eat granola and live in the mountains and get their own spring water. You know, I mean, that's what they think of when you say alternative schooling.
Right. I'll train them at home.
Yeah. Oh man, good luck. As soon as you say homeschooling, oh, you're a religious nut. I mean, that's immediately the perception.
That's the fastest growing sector of the homeschooling sector.
They don't want you clouding your head with all that evolution talk.
Right.
Do you ever talk to that Ken Ham guy? Have you ever sat down with that guy?
No, but Bill Nye has. I mean, Bill Nye debated him. I mean, I can't debate people. It's not what I do.
You just can't do it.
I just can't do it. It's not what I do. I'm an educator, and I want to educate you so you can think for yourself.
But
and then I go away. That's it. To debate someone implies that whoever is most convincing is correct.
Right.
And that's not how knowledge works.
Right. It's just too much charisma involved. In debates.
It's not how knowledge. Whatever.
All right, Lordy or Lordian99. Thank you for watching. Have a good night, and hope you pass your classes. Sleep well. And thank you for watching the stream.
Whatever charisma level I have or not have, I don't want to hinge what is true on that fact.
Right.
All right. So I'm an educator. I will teach you the causes and effects of what science, knowing what science is and how and why it works.
Which is why it's critical that you continue to criticize science fiction movies. It's very important. Don't you back off now. We need you. There's a lot of people that wouldn't know that Chinese space station is nowhere near the American space station, and that her hair would be moving all over the place.
Her hair would be everywhere. Yeah. Oh, now, but my favorite one is, remember when he's at the end of a tether, and she wants to save him, but she doesn't have enough oxygen to do it, so he lets go of the tether, and that way she can't save him before she can save herself.
Right.
And then he flies away. It's like, no, they're like floating in space.
Yeah.
He lets go of the tether. It just stays there in his hand.
Yeah.
Doesn't.
He would be right there.
He would be right there. Nothing. He lets go. Nothing happens.
Wouldn't be like a bungee cord.
Now, if she were swinging him in circles and he let go, he'd fly off at a tangent. But that's not what was happening.
Right.
And nor were they rotating. I would check what they were relative to Earth below. That was not what was going on. So, and you know what? She could have just given it a slight tug, and then he would have drifted towards her. That could have even been a little romantic.
Just a little baby tug.
Yeah, baby tug would do it. They would slowly drift towards one another.
No, I hate that movie.
Then the helmets would hit, and then
that movie makes me mad. Oh, and then the helmets would break, and then they would be freezing to death instantly, right? When you just freeze,
you'd suffocate.
Oh,
first.
that too, and then freeze to death, right? What movie nailed that? There was one movie where they were off in space. They overdid it.
Well, there was. People want you to like explode in space.
Yeah.
No. I mean.
Well, they want you to freeze solid too instantly.
Yeah, right. No, just no. And even in, was it Armageddon, where the sun rose over the comet, and he didn't have his visor down, and he was blinded by the sun. It's like the same sun in our daytime sky.
The atmosphere doesn't protect you in any way.
The Earth's atmosphere takes out, a few percent.
That's it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God.
A few percent. Well, in the middle of broad daylight at the top of the sky.
So you just be squinty.
It's a few percent. Now, he'll get more UV. He'll get more UV. That's important.
Get a little more brown.
Yeah, but... death in space is nowhere near as spectacular as movies would have you think.
Yeah, they make it seem like if you take that helmet off, you just immediately freeze up.
Yeah, no. I mean, you can go into what happens is there's nothing making you cold other than you radiating heat from your skin.
Oh.
So you only get as cold as quickly as you can radiate away heat. That's all.
So it would take quite a while.
Oh, yeah.
You just have no air, so you'd suffocate quicker.
Yeah, you'd suffocate. Oh, yeah, you'd suffocate long before you saw anything like that happen. So just think about it. There's nothing touching you that's making you cold. It has to wait for you to radiate away. That's what's happening, okay? And you'll feel very cold very quickly, but you're not going to die from that fast.
Now, when Stephen Hawking...
Oh, by the way, you also have dissolved gases in your body, which will try to come... Because in the vacuum of space, you don't have the air pressure tamping down the dissolved gases. So you take away the air pressure, then the dissolved gases will begin to bubble out of your blood.
Oh.
And it's the same problem with when you have the bends.
Oh.
When you come up from low altitude and you go to lesser pressure around
nitrogen
you.
Poisoning.
You get nitrogen, so you want to do that slowly, so that it's a very slow thing. But the hazards of... But then why would you be butt naked in space? I mean, you're going to have a spacesuit on. So.
Well, you just want to prove to everybody that you could do it. So, like,
well, they did it in 2001 in Space Odyssey. They basically did it right. The guy, without his helmet, went through the airlock. And just held his breath.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's all he did.
Oh, well, that's way more reasonable.
Well, because it was a reasonable movie.
There was a reason. It was a good movie.
It had real advisors.
Stanley Kubrick. Well, he was a really interesting guy too because he was a mathematician. Stanley Kubrick.
I didn't know that about him, but I knew he cared about that level of detail.
He used to do complex math and for fun.
So there's a failed bit of physics in 2001. You want to hear it? Yeah. One day I'll talk about
the
2001.
monkey suits.
No, so
the monolith. Which was it?
No. So remember when he's on one of the moon crafts and he's orbiting the moon and they give him food. All right, and there's a tray of nasty food. Obviously, it's like astronaut food. Remember, this is 1968, so everything here is a visual taste of the future. So he has another packet where he extends a straw from that plastic packet. Okay. Oh, there he is. Excellent. You're getting a good photo. You're good. Your boy is good right here. Okay. Yeah, there he is. So he sucks up the straw.
Right.
And this is in 0G, so stuff is floating around. He sucks up the straw. Then he goes to another straw, and the liquid in the straw goes back down. That's gravity.
Oh, they fucked up.
Yeah. He totally fucked up. No. No. So that one, obviously, he can't get everything right. But it's fun to notice the things he couldn't get right or didn't think to get right. So to me, it's a celebration. Here's another one.
Okay.
The rotation rate of the space station. I calculated that, and I calculated what G-force would you have on the outer perimeter of the space station in 2001. And I did the math, and I forgot the exact number, something like between 2 and 3 Gs.
Oh.
And I said, why would you do that? That's stupid. You wouldn't do that. And I realized if they rotated it at the rate that would give you 1 G, it would be way too slow to make an interesting scene. So I gave it to him. I said, I'll give you 3 Gs. Because the Strauss waltz, as the thing turns, and the space shuttle that's approaching it matches its rotation rate with the opening in the center of the space station. This whole ballet, this entire ballet...
Wow, that's cool again.
...happens at a stately but real pace. Okay, but that pace gives him a 3 Gs of gravity.
So it's 3x the correct pace. The correct pace would be much slower.
Yeah, it might have been 2.5, but I forgot the number. But it's multiples too high.
So
but
that
it looks good, and so I let him do it. I'm not going to. I'm fine. That's artistic license. That's Mark Twainian license, where he says, first get your facts straight, then distort them at your leisure. That is what I'm holding artists to.
So now, when you're looking at a space station, like they're in 0 gravity when they're in the space station.
No, they are in 1 G on the edge of the space station.
On the edge?
Yeah, on the turning edge. Yeah, that's the whole point.
You mean that thing?
So
I mean
so
a real space station.
If the thing, our space station.
Yes.
Oh, so it's 0 G. Yes,
right. Now, but it is possible.
It's 0 G because it is in free fall towards Earth.
So it's constantly in free fall, but it's just going around the...
Yeah, it's in free fall towards Earth, but it's going sideways so fast that the amount that it has fallen equals precisely...
the spin of the Earth.
The curvature of the Earth.
Is that more proof that the Earth is round? Is it?
If you've had Physics 101, yes.
But is it possible to generate gravity in a space station?
Only if you rotate it.
Only if you rotate it.
It's not gravity, it's simulating gravity. But according to Einstein, they're indistinguishable from one another, so you can do it.
So it is possible to do something where you can send people into deep space and generate gravity through some sort of rotation?
At least 2 ways. One of them, you just rotate it. And all the good sci-fi movies have rotating sections of a space station.
Right.
And there's some that have rotating opposite ways so that they can spin up against one another. Right. And so there's some clever ideas out there with space stations of the future for long voyages.
Because I had Commander Hatfield on the podcast.
Cool.
Who came back from space and was talking about the excruciating difficulty he had readjusting to gravity after being in a 0 gravity environment for so long.
He's just showing off because he's like setting records for being.
Wasn't he like 6 months?
Yeah, it was a long time. He's showing. Yeah, I couldn't handle life with you lowly Earth people.
He was talking about his body. Like it took like over a year before his bone density came back. And
this is partly addressed in the film the Martian kid. He's born on Mars, comes to Earth.
Which one's that? Born on Mars.
Yeah, the kid born on Mars. Get your guy to research this like now. What's the name of the movie? It's
recent.
Yeah. Oh, the Space Between Us.
Oh, what the hell's that?
You got to get out more, dude.
I do.
Yeah.
But that's
so
beside the
this
point.
is a Martian colony where the first community.
What movie is this?
This came out a couple
When?
of months ago.
Really?
Oh my gosh! Oh yeah.
Oh man, I'm so behind. Is this out on iTunes yet?
So that's the Martian colony,
Right.
and one of the female astronauts they send, that one there, happens to be. They learn is pregnant. And they can't bring her back, and so she gives birth on Mars, and the first person who is ever born on Mars. And then they keep it a secret, and then he comes back as a teenager that falls in love. See, there's the fetus. So anyhow, he has a hard time on Earth because his heart developed in Martian gravity, which is only 38% Earth gravity.
Oh wow!
And then on Earth, he just couldn't. They had to, figure out what to do with him.
Wow.
Yeah, that's on Mars. The kid was born on Mars.
Okay.
Yeah.
Don't spoiler alert me, Jamie. Shut that off.
That's why. Yeah. So, what were we talking
Generating gravity in
so one way
travel.
is to rotate it up. Another way is if you're headed somewhere,
right?
You
Like
just
Mars.
have a huge fuel tank and just always run your rockets.
Oh,
Then
so
you
you
just
always have
accelerate.
G-force.
There's always a G-force.
Oh,
so if you
interesting.
accelerate it 1G
Right.
towards a destination, then you'll always
have
feel
1G.
Earth gravity, and you'll get there awesomely fast.
But you would have to have so much fuel or
Yes, you'll
rely
need
on something
you
new.
need filling stations en route, this sort of thing. And if you do this, you accelerate 1G halfway there, then you turn the spaceship around, then you decelerate at 1G for the other half of the trip, so that when you get there, you're not whizzing past it in a flyby. Okay? That way you have 1G the whole trip. That's how you would do that.
Wow. So the momentum when you would precisely hit
If you accelerate
halfway
it
there.
at 1G, oh my gosh, you hit near the speed of light very quickly.
Whoa.
Oh my! I mean, I forgot what is it in a. I have to calculate it, but it's the acceleration of Earth's gravity. If you actually move that fast, that's head snapping.
Now, would they have to have some sort of a crazy propulsion system in order to do something along those lines? How fast will 1G get you there? 1 year.
Yeah. So yes. So
Wow.
1G would take
1 year plus the distance in light years. Proxima Centauri 4.2 light years, for example, would take 5.2 years. So the distance in light years plus a year. Wow,
Yes,
that's
accelerated
crazy.
1G. So that's so that gets you basically 25% the speed of light.
But what happens if you just run into stuff on the way? Like,
That's
there's a lot
bad.
of stuff out there, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
so
isn't that a giant issue in getting to Mars?
Well,
all the
space
stuff?
is actually quite empty, but if you do hit something, that's the end of everything. So it's a low risk, high consequence thing that
Right.
you gotta put in play.
Now, how much of a risk is the space junk that we've left in the environment?
Oh,
'Cause
don't get me started.
We were
Oh.
freaking out the other
we
day
got
about
so-
how many
we got
pieces are up there.
There's countless thousands of bits of space junk.
Yeah.
From chips of paint that fell off of
bolts.
to bolts and nails and
Retro rocket boosters and-
Yeah, it's all up there, and I'm wondering whether we haven't been visited by aliens yet because they saw the space junk orbiting Earth and said, "Forget that. I'm going to visit some other planet. I'm not going to risk my life."
Crazy short-sighted approach to space travel.
Yeah,
to
so if you
litter
bring
our-
up the NASA Orbital Debris Office website, you can actually see the debris that NASA's tracking, almost in real time.
It's crazy
They'll
how
show
much
it to you.
there is.
And it's like a beehive around the Earth. So you got there it is. Okay, that's the debris around the Earth that NASA tracks.
And there's a failed Japanese experiment to try to...
And that outer ring that you see, that's the altitude of geosynchronous satellites. And that there should be a video of that. Just fine. Yeah, go to the bottom right. Go to bottom right. Right there. Click on that. Play that video. It's not a video. No. Why isn't that a video?
I'm sure there is a video somewhere.
Yeah, there's a video on that site. So you can just see the movement of these pieces, and it's so launch windows have to know when to not hit stuff. So when you have launch windows, it's not just is everything aligned right, will you successfully get past the debris. And
there was a Japanese, they had an experiment to try to capture it with nets. It was a recent mission.
Oh, yeah. So
didn't work.
Yeah, so the problem is the low orbit stuff will eventually fall in and burn up. The high Earth orbit stuff will never go away. There's nothing to destroy it.
And so they can't capture that stuff?
Well, you need a very clever... This stuff is moving 18,000 miles an hour. So what's your net... What are you doing?
That's so crazy.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
There's the video. Oh,
Yeah.
my God.
Go higher res on that. Sure, I know there's a higher res.
God.
That's 1080?
Well,
No, it's not.
it's not from NASA's YouTube panel. It's from
Oh,
some other-
okay, somebody else. But that's the kind. So all of that's debris that you're looking at there. So anyway, yeah. So your concern for debris is well placed, and we may be putting so much debris in space that we will close ourselves off from space travel because of the dangers it would take to get through our own garbage heap.
That's so crazy. And this was all started in the 1940s, 1950s. Like, when did they start shooting stuff up there?
Oh no, 1950s, Sputnik. Yeah, 1957.
That was the first satellite, right?
First anything, yeah. First anything in orbit, yeah.
Oh, God. And in that short amount of time.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, it's like a dumpster,
60 years.
planetary
They
dumpster.
ruined the whole thing.
Ruined the whole thing.
They've had it for billions of years. In 60 years, they filled it up with junk.
Yep.
That's
okay,
just,
there it is. Yeah.
oh, my God. That's
See
terrifying.
that? Yeah, that's going around the Earth.
Oh, my God.
All of that.
Oh, my God. And has anybody ever hit anything while trying to do something?
What exacerbates it is, remember when China, when was this? 2004, 2003? China destroyed one of its own satellites.
Yeah, what
in
was that
upper
about?
orbit.
I remember some of that.
Yeah. And they basically did a kinetic kill on a satellite. So a kinetic kill, for those who don't know, is you don't need explosives if the speed of the projectile and its kinetic energy is higher than the energy that would be in the explosive shell itself.
Oh.
So it's a fascinating calculation to make. So here it is. So I have this delivery system with a warhead, and I put some bomb device in the warhead, and you can calculate how much energy that is. Then I send it, and it hits, and it blows something up. But suppose I send this thing really, really fast. Really, really, really fast. I can calculate how much kinetic energy this thing has. There will be a point where I give it so much kinetic energy, the kinetic energy is greater than the chemical energy of the conventional explosive that I put in the warhead.
Oh, like Shoemaker Levy.
Well, for example.
Yeah.
I give you a terrestrial example. You ready?
Okay.
It's what we call a high-speed collision. This is more than you bargained for in our time together, but I'm going to tell you.
No,
okay, you ready?
Perfect.
The argument for the longest time that the craters on the moon were calderas from volcanoes and not asteroid impacts. The geologists argue strenuously these can't be asteroid impacts. They've got to be calderas, these 1,000 craters on the moon. Well, why? Because everyone is a perfect circle. And if asteroids are coming from space, they would come from all angles. And if you come in at a shallow angle, you get an oval. And even shallower, it'd be more ovals. So you'd have a whole range of circles and ovals and ellipses. And you don't see that. They must be calderas. It was not
Explain
until...
a caldera. It's a volcano.
Oh, just a volcanic...
and it leads a crater.
Volcanic crater. That's all
like
it is.
Yellowstone.
Yeah. It's a volcanic crater. That's all. And it's a little more poetic, a caldera, you know, but it's a crater left by a volcano that has exploded.
Like the boom was so big, the mountain's gone, and now it's just a big hole.
Or at the top of the mountain, there's a crater at the top of the mountain, like Crater Lake. That's a round hole in the top of a mountain. Was that once a volcano? I don't know, but it's a hole. Okay, so in the 1970s, we were able to do calculations with high-speed computers, with good computers, and what we found was, if the object is moving faster, if the kinetic energy of the object is higher than the energy that's holding the thing together. Ooh. Okay? So what's holding together a rock? The chemical connections of the silicon and the oxygen and everything, and the iron, everything that's making the rock, that's holding it together. You can calculate how much energy is holding it together.
And if it's going 45,000 miles
so
an hour.
write down that number. Now I send in the asteroid with a kinetic energy higher than the energy that's holding it together. On impact, it explodes. Because all all that energy goes back into the rock because the thing isn't moving anymore. Where did the kinetic energy go? It digs a crater, number one, by virtue of putting all that energy back into the stone, and that explodes it. So on impact, even at an angle, it is a singular point explosion. And that's why every single crater is a perfect circle. We call that a high-speed impact, where the speed is greater, the energy of the speed is greater than the energy that's holding it together.
That's amazing.
Now, you have experience in this, okay? Have you ever thrown do this next, we're in California, sorry.
Snowballs?
Snowballs. Take a snowball.
Go to Big Bear. They have
Take a
snowballs up
snowball
there.
and face a barn wall and throw the snowball at it, and it'll make a little circular mark on it. Now change your angle to the wall and throw the snowball again. It'll still make a small round mark, and it'll keep doing it. You know why? Because the speed with which you threw the snowball, that energy is greater than the energy that's holding the snowball together. Because hardly any energy is holding the snowball together. It's just loosely packed snow. So when you do it against the wall, you see the snowball completely disappear in a mini snowball explosion, if you will. So this works for any comparison of projectile speed and what we call the binding energy of the object itself. This is why the intercontinental ballistic missiles never carried conventional warheads, because their speed coming out of space, because they leave the atmosphere, go from one continent to the other, and then they fall out of the sky. That speed gives them more kinetic energy than any conventional warhead would have had.
Whoa.
But then we figured out how to make small nuclear warheads. The nukes. Now you're talking energy. The kinetic energy of the ICBM is not higher than the nuclear warhead that we now put in. That's why all ICBMs are nukes.
Wow.
The V-2 rocket basically didn't need an explosive warhead in its tip. It came out of the sky going 5 miles per second. There was none of this. That implies you're hearing the thing. It's coming in supersonically.
Whoa.
You're sitting there at a cocktail table on a block, and then the block is obliterated in the next instant. You didn't even know to look up.
Wow.
So that's and they added an explosive anyway, but they probably didn't need to.
Now, to go back to Shoemaker-Levy, that was a comet that slammed into Jupiter. Now, Jupiter's a gas giant.
Yes.
I've always been confused as to what that means.
Oh, most of its mass is in the form of gas.
Most of its mass.
Oh, yeah, 90-something% of it. Yeah.
So when Shoemaker-Levy slammed into Jupiter and made
it was going
explosion,
so fast, the gaseous atmosphere was like hitting a brick wall.
Whoa.
That's how fast it was moving.
So that's why the explosion was bigger than Earth.
That's exactly. So it's slow. All of its kinetic energy that it had got put back into the object itself because it's slowed down very quickly relative to its speed. I mean, relative to the. So here's this comet. I forgot how big Shoemaker-Levy was. So now it goes into the atmosphere, and you say, "Oh, isn't it just clouds?" And it can watch how fast it's going. You can ask the question: over how much distance will it plow through its own mass worth of gas?
Whoa.
That's a question, right?
Right.
That it has to plow that much mass out of the way. That's an important resistive force, right?
Yeah.
So how much atmosphere? Well, that's a lot of atmosphere because it's gas and this thing is solid. However, the thing is going, 15, 20 miles per second? It's falling into Jupiter at 20 miles, whatever the speed was. If you go at 20 miles per second, you will cover that much atmosphere in a fraction of a second. So in a fraction of a second, you go from 20 miles per second to zero, or to a tiny fraction of that speed. All that energy has to go somewhere. It goes back into the system. It's a comet made of ice. Ice is not held together very easily. The whole thing explodes on impact.
That was another terrifying statistic that I read about the impact that hit the Yucatan and killed the dinosaurs, that how deep it had gone into the Earth's surface within the first second.
Oh yeah. These are numbers that are staggering once you calculate what they are. And like I said, if you come in fast enough, Earth's atmosphere is might as well be a brick wall to you. And by the way, you go 60 miles an hour down the road, roll down the window, just stick your hand out the window.
Yeah.
You have to use muscle energy to not have your hand blown backwards against 60 miles an hour of air against your open palm. Just try that next time. See what kind of energy that requires. And that's 60 miles an hour. Now imagine 5 miles per second, 10 miles per second, 20 miles per second. You toast.
How deep did the asteroid that hit and killed the dinosaurs, how deep did that thing go in the first second?
What was that? That was a 150-mile diameter crater, something like that. I forgot the exact numbers. So there's a relationship between the depth of a crater and the diameter and the mass of the thing. So, no, it goes miles down. I mean, it's...
Miles?
Oh, yeah. Well, let me think.
An Earth rang for like a million years?
What happens is... let me take that back. I don't know if it's miles. It's...
I think it was what I had read. I don't remember the exact statistic. Well,
excuse me, no, it's got to go miles down because the thing is miles. Is the asteroid itself was the size of Mount Everest. So the asteroid itself is like 5 miles across. So it's deep. No, you just don't mess with this. By the way, the crater in Arizona, called Meteor Crater for obvious reasons, that can sink a 60-story building, and that's not even a mile across. And now we're talking about a crater more than 100 miles across that took out the dinosaurs.
That famous one in Arizona can sink a 60-story building?
If you put dirt up to the rim of that crater, you can bury a 60-story building.
Wasn't that an instance where this is your whole calculation about explosions and about the amount of energy, that they were looking for the raw materials that caused that crater?
Correct.
They thought that they could mine it.
Correct. They first thought it was volcanic, and the geologist thought it was volcanic again. But one geologist in particular, Eugene Shoemaker, who was in line to be on one of the lunar missions, and then he had like a heart murmur, and then they sent Jack Schmitt in his stead, who's also a geologist turned U.S. Senator from Arizona. Where was he senator from? I forgot. But can you look at Jack Schmitt, where he was senator from? Forgive me for forgetting, because I'm friends with him, so I should have known that.
NASA.
Jack Schmitt, SCHMITT. It's not. There's no D in it.
Mexico?
Yeah, so I was right. So it's in New Mexico. Oh, I said Arizona, so New Mexico. So he... but anyhow, he's saying, no, this is an impact crater. And, well, if it's an impact crater, where is the meteorite? It must be buried down here. And so there were miners. There were iron miners who bought the land so they can get this huge meteor that they were sure was just sitting down there that they could mine for its natural resource. They could not find the meteor. That's because it hit at high speed velocity. It was a high velocity impact, which means its collision energy was greater than the binding energy even of the iron atoms itself. And 90% of that thing vaporized on impact.
Wow. Oh, my brain just went like this.
There it is.
Wow.
There is no iron.
More impressive even than I remember it.
Okay, there are pieces. That's nice low angle shot, so you get the shadows of the rim.
And that's in Arizona. Where in Arizona?
It's near Winslow, Arizona.
Where would that be near? Is that like if someone wanted to fly in to see that?
Here it is. If you go to the Grand Canyon, then you drive to this, and it's a few hours. Okay, there's Meteor Crater. The map is coming up. And where's the Grand Canyon? There's Meteor Crater and Grand Canyon, which is also in Arizona.
Flagstaff.
Grand Canyon National Park. You can drive that. See that? Grand Canyon to Meteor Crater through Flagstaff? Yeah. So you're not going to fly that. You just drive it. And
it has Yelp reviews?
Look
at that. Look at that. Look at highlighted. It's got 5
you can't
stars.
Yelp review a crater.
Look at it.
Come on now.
Look.
Why doesn't it have all the stars?
Look. I know it should have every goddamn star ever.
No!
Only 3.9. People are so picky.
Crater.
It's not that big a deal, man. I could dig a hole better myself.
Oh, by the way, so this hole was this meteor crater was dug in a few seconds. This crater was made.
Yeah.
Just.
And how many years ago was that?
50,000 years ago.
That's nothing.
Approximately nothing. It's
wow.
Nothing.
There's probably some form of human living here then.
Oh, yeah, early humans.
Maybe.
I don't know if they were in North America yet.
They say 40,000 is the most recent, right?
It depends on when they crossed the Bering Strait.
Yeah.
That's when they would have just arrived.
Man.
They would say, oh, that's cool. I'm going back.
Have you gone? Have you gone to that?
Oh, yeah, multiple times. Oh, yeah.
Yeah? Is it freaky?
What's freaky about it is you walk up to it, you can't see it because the rim of the crater, it just looks like a ridge line.
Ah.
The rim is raised above the plane of the area, right? Because when you press down, it raises it up a bit. So you just walk up to it, and then you come up to the ledge, and then it's like...
And you realize what it is.
This is nearly a mile diameter hole in the ground.
Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah, it's a stunning encounter with the forces of nature.
And the fact that there's so many of those particles just floating around out there that could easily just slam right in.
That was nothing. That's.
How big was that one, you think?
Oh, yeah, that was about I don't know, 20 yards across, something like that. Yeah, that's nothing.
God, that's nothing.
That's nothing.
That's it? 20 yards?
Yeah, maybe between 20 and 40 yards.
20 yards is the size of this building.
No, yeah, that's right.
From that garage to that front door is
now
exactly
make that kind of
19
spherical.
yards.
Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy.
Right. That's nothing, and that's the kind of thing that can get close enough that you don't even see, and then it's too late.
And
now,
those
of course, that's
things
not going to render you extinct. That's not going to make us extinct, but it'll make a very bad day for a city.
Yeah.
Okay?
Well, yeah, the city's done, and most likely the power grid's jacked for a long time, too.
Right.
Now...
What time is that? Is my plane left
10
yet?
till. No, you have 10 more minutes.
Okay.
I had to get the Stephen Hawking's quote out for you. Stephen Hawking's was talking about the possibility of alien life discovering us, and that it would be a terrible, terrible thing if it did happen. If you look at what has happened to other primitive life forms when we've discovered them, primitive cultures when we've discovered them, do you share that same opinion? That if something did find us...
I don't have a strong opinion on that question, but I have an analysis of his comment.
Okay.
He is worried about the possibility of aliens enslaving us based on the reality that we've done that to ourselves.
Yes.
Just think about that. His fear of aliens derives not from actual knowledge of aliens, but from an actual knowledge of ourselves. Anytime a more advanced civilization has come upon a less technologically advanced civilization, it did not bode well for the less advanced civilization. And that happened in North America, South America, North America with Europeans, South America, the Spanish, Australia with the Brits. It never boded well for the less technologically advanced civilization. His factual knowledge of that leads him to suspect that aliens would be exactly the same. And I'm not that skeptical. I don't think all life forms in the universe have the basal, primal, violent attitudes that we do as a species. I've not been given reason to think so.
But don't you believe that things advance because of competition, and competition forces things to be fairly ruthless?
It has been argued that if you're a civilization that colonizes the galaxy, that it's a self-limiting exercise. Why? Because here you go. You ready? We start here on Earth. It's you and me, boy. All right? And you take that planet, I take this planet. And now we both have offspring that are just like us. And we want more planets. All right? We reach a point where expansion is not possible because we are warring with ourselves to gain the territory that each other has obtained. So it has been argued sociologically that the very act of wanting to colonize is self-limiting against successful colonization of the galaxy. Because to colonize the galaxy, it has to be done in an organized way. All right? You take this sector, I take this sector. But if I want territory and I want it now, and my kids want it now, I want that territory, not this other one. In fact, I want it all. That kind of attitude breeds violence. It breeds war, intragalactic war. So it may be that the very kind of civilization that could peacefully colonize a galaxy is not the kind of civilization that would colonize the galaxy at all.
Oof, that's heavy.
Very heavy.
What about the idea that any advanced...
That's my first comment about Stephen Hawking.
One?
He made another comment about we should be a multi-planet species
what the hell
to protect ourselves against an asteroid rendering one extinct. It makes a good headline, and it sounds like it makes sense, but I'm not there with it. Yeah, of course I want to back up. Of course, let's be a multi-planet species. Fine,
right,
but I would do it for different reasons. I would do it because it's cool, not because I want to protect human species from extinction. No, that wouldn't be the reason to do it. Can I tell you why?
Please.
List every reason why you think we go extinct. One, we trash Earth. Another, and we can't live off of it anymore. An asteroid is coming. There's some nanobot gone astray. Okay?
Pandemic.
Virus pandemic. Okay. So, it seems to me that if we want to be a multi-planet species, Mars would be the one, because it's a 24-hour day. It's got seasons. We would have to terraform it first, but then we all move there. So we just ship 1 billion people there. Here's my point. Whatever it takes to terraform Mars and ship 1 billion people there, it's got to be easier to deflect the asteroid. Whatever it takes to terraform Mars, to turn it into Earth. If you had the power of geoengineering to do that, then you have the power of geoengineering to turn Earth back into Earth.
But there are occasionally things that we miss, right? Because of the way that...
So you say, okay, whatever it takes to geoengineer Mars and ship 1 billion people there, it's got to be easier to create a perfect viral serum that makes us immune to all possible disease. That's got to be easier. Whatever that takes.
But isn't it possible that there's some asteroids that we just will not see until it's too late?
Then you put up whatever that takes. That's what I'm saying. Whatever.
But they're talking about being
Mars
able
and ship 1 billion people there.
1 billion.
Why? Of course. Why wouldn't it be? We have 7. What, are you going to put 10 people there? What? You want to split your species,
right?
Okay. And if an asteroid is coming that you can't deflect, which would surprise me if you could ship 1 billion people to Mars, you just let them all die? What is that? What you plan to? You going to let all the Earth people die and the Mars people survive just so you can save the species? Don't save everybody. I'm not buying into the premise, this cable carology premise, that you have to save one to not save the other, and you know cable carology.
I see what you're saying.
The cable car, someone's in the tracks.
You let them go.
You let them go if you steer it out of the way, but then you actively kill 2 people instead of passively killing 1 person. Mm-hmm. What do you do? I'm not buying into that premise for this question. I'm simply saying that whatever it takes, it's got to be easier to put up some kind of net that finds any asteroid that could possibly harm us and zaps them out of the sky. That's got to be easier.
This is the last question. Is it possible that the reason why we are never visited by extraterrestrials is because the way civilizations
because of the space
advance?
Debris. 1. 2.
Is it because the way civilizations...
They have visited. They visited during Comic-Con. Nobody noticed. Okay,
they don't like cosplay.
3.
We're out of here.
Their costumes weren't as good as ours.
Okay.
3. They've observed us and judged. There's no sign of intelligent life on Earth.
Okay, but is there another possibility that civilizations don't ever get to travel like that? Because what happens is, as they advance and as their technology advances, they become, instead of a biological entity seeking to spread its genetics throughout the universe, they become some sort of symbiotic artificial life. That as they advance their technology and as they continue to innovate, they reach a limitation in biology and then eventually create artificial life that sees no desire whatsoever to travel.
Oh, interesting. So I would say that's a great philosophical question. I would say that the day we create AI, if the AI is everything we are except more,
and not emotional,
then
not
it
foolish.
Would have an urge to explore.
Maybe.
Otherwise, then it's not us.
But wouldn't it create those doors like in Monsters, Inc. and start going dimension to dimension instead of fucking around with jets and
with chemical jets?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, they figure out the 4th dimension.
Yeah, wouldn't that be the best way to do things?
And then they figure it out, and then they would figure out a way to travel better than any way we could. But if the fact that we want to travel and we're creating versions of ourselves called AI, I don't see why AI wouldn't want to travel.
But why would it be curious? If AI...
If it is us,
if it's
this
not
is my
biological.
Point. Then it's not... Well, if we create every neurosynaptic map
Right.
of our brain into silicon, into a computer, and recreate our consciousness as humans, the human brain.
But wouldn't that
the
be
human
just
brain
one
is curious.
version of AI? Wouldn't
Sure.
there be like an infinite version of AI that
Sure.
AI could create itself?
It could.
And why would it limit itself to all of our emotions and sexual desires and jealousy and all the ridiculous things that are holding us back?
It could. Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Now, I'm not as fearsome of AI as others are. We're not going to make an AI-looking human being because a human form is not the best or ideal form for anything.
Did you see Ex Machina?
Yes, I did.
Did you love it? Did you love it?
It was good. It was good.
You
Had
didn't love
some
it?
Good moments.
You didn't love it?
No, it was good.
I loved it.
Oh.
I want to marry it.
You want to marry it? Oh, okay. Well, that's the first thing you use. Yeah, it's the sex bot. Is
It's one
the
of my,
first
no,
thing.
it's not even that.
That's
It's one of my
where the
favorite
money will be
movies.
for sure.
For sure.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. But I'm just saying it's one of my favorite movies. I Want to Marry the Movie. It's just an awesome movie.
So then marriage would no longer be about sex or just be about reproduction because you just go to your room with your sex
people,
bot.
I'm hoping that that's one of the first things that people figure out they shouldn't do anymore.
Well,
once they get smart enough to symbiotically attach themselves to artificial intelligence.
I was watching, what was it, Family Feud? One of the questions was, if you're... we asked 100 married women, if you could have a second husband for only one purpose, what would it be? Something like 70% of them said just for sex.
Whoa. Damn.
A second
harsh.
husband for only one purpose.
Just for getting stuffed.
Just
rough.
Just sex.
That's a fucking wake-up call for a lot of dudes out there.
a lot of guys.
Let's end on that. Neil deGrasse Tyson, astrophysics for people in a hurry.
In a hurry.
Due out in May. Thank you so much, sir. You're a
Dude.
gentleman and a
Oh, man.
scholar.
Love you, man.
I love you too, brother. Thank you so
Stay
much
strong.
for coming here, and thank you anytime. Open invitation. Call me
All
up
right.
middle of the night.
Middle of the night.
I'll come down here. We'll open it up.
And you got to wake him up.
He'll do it. He's down. He loves you too.
All right.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate
All right.
it. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, what a mind-blowing podcast that was. Wasn't that fun? That guy's awesome. So happy that people like that exist. So happy that he exists. He's such an enthusiastic educator and just...
All right, everybody, that is the show for tonight. I'd like to thank everybody for asking questions and watching and listening. And again, that was the Joe Rogan podcast. You can catch him on YouTube. You can catch him on iTunes and anywhere else that they have podcasts. So, yeah, very excited with what we got done today. Let me save this out so we can take a look. All right, so this is what we had today. And let me close this out. Alrighty, so this is what we had. Ooh. Oh. Is it because of the bullion? What is that? I'm pretty sure I'm going to crash it. Anyway, so that's what we started with today. And that's where we took it. So I'm pretty happy with today's work. I'm going to figure out this hydraulic stuff tomorrow. And really just let my mind work on it while I'm asleep. Thank you so much again for those that have been watching and all the encouragement in the comments. It's fucking awesome. I can't tell you. It's just really, really kind, and I can't thank you enough. So, I will see you tomorrow again for another 8-hour session. It's going to be rough, but, well, you know what? I'm going to say it's going to be great. It's definitely going to be great. So, I will see you tomorrow.